Okay.
Running that intro. Hey. Eureka.
We make plays every day, yeah. We make plays every day, yeah.
Real standout-ish.
Plays every day, yeah. We make 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 plays every day, yeah.
Welcome to the Real Fantasy Playmakers. I am your host, Bogard, scot-free. And I don't know if you might have heard me through the intro, but we got Peacock syndrome on this one. That means if you see us in the crowd, and there's thousands of us in this crowd, we will stand out. That's for those of y'all that don't know what Peacock syndrome is. And for a man who definitely knows about what I'm talking about, we're going to go ahead and introduce our special guest for the Real Fantasy Playmakers. It's my man, Miles, the Fantasy Peacock. Ah! What's happening, Miles?
You are too kind, my bro. You are too kind. It is good to be on your show finally, Mr. Bogart scot-free. The Give Me Money Network, bro.
Yeah.
I'm excited to be here. Talk a little bit with you. It's been a long time coming. I know we've gotten together a few times with the Rum Boys from where I know you from. We've gotten really close over this quarantine.
Yeah, man. You know what's... So I'm always trying to find... I'm an optimistic type of individual. You know what I mean? I do have my moments. It's not like I'm like... You know what I mean? I mean, I'm only human, right? But for the most part, I'm glass half full. You know what I mean? And like, you know...
What's that?
I hope and pray that this quarantine and this corona, you know, comes to an end officially sooner than later. But in that regard, I'm always gonna look back at the apocalypse, or as I like to call it, I'm gonna always look back at the apocalypse. And this is the time when I met, you know, the Rum Boys, man, because you guys have definitely added like that normality that I was missing. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm able to kick it with my boys on a Friday night and have some drinks and talk sports and like, you know what I mean? Like really keep my sanity, man. Like because it is a crazy world we're living in. You know what I mean? But you know what? We're gonna cover all that. We're definitely gonna touch on some of that, man. But I do want to say I appreciate you, and you know what I'm saying, as our special guest. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna go ahead and handle this housekeeping real quick. So on Twitter, follow me at the GMM Network. On IG, follow me at the GMM Network and at Bogard Scott Free World. And you can find Miles, the Fantasy Peacock, the FF Peacock on Twitter and at therumboys.com. But go ahead and tell them your Twitter handle. It's FF Fantasy Peacock. I just don't want to fuck that up.
Yeah, sure. So instead of putting fantasy and all that, it's just FF_Peacock on Twitter. The handle is FF_Peacock. The display name or profile name on it is the Call of the Peacock, the way you do it so beautifully every time I see you. We get together. Exactly. So that's the name that you can find me at as well. I am on Instagram, but I don't have too much fantasy content on there. But you can find me at Muscle Up Miles. That's muscle_up_Miles, because I have a nice habit of working out and trying to stay in shape as well. So my Instagram pics are there, and I put up all my fantasy content, obviously, with the rumboys.com folks, and I also write some stuff for timeskewed.com website. They have a lot of podcasts and articles that go up daily as well.
Nice. And we're definitely going to throw all those links in the description of this episode for all the playmakers to be able to have access to the Peacock. And also, one more thing. Go ahead and check out our merch at rumboys.com. You know what I'm saying? And shout out to our sponsor, Milk and Honey, for all your CBD goodness and all your CBD wellness. Visit www.milkandhoneytx.com. All right.
Yeah.
Miles, once again, man, how you doing, man? I know you're out there in the Lone Star State, correct?
That is correct. I'm coming to you from beautiful South Texas, way down south, actually really close to South Padre Island. If you want to go to a map and try to find the most southern tip of Texas, and then hit that with a push pin. That's where I'm at.
Nice.
It's just about an hour away from the beach here. It's a beautiful South Padre Island where everybody likes to party for spring break. Didn't happen this year, unfortunately. I feel like the tourist stuff didn't really pop off, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm coming to you from Texas. I love Texas. It's a great place. I know that you're out on the West Coast in California. I have family out in Fresno, Ontario.
Okay,
and,
yeah, I'm like at 2.5 hours up from Fresno, because Fresno's like more central Cali. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So
Yeah.
I try to get out there. It's been a couple of years since I've been out there. My wife and I went out to San Francisco maybe about 4 years ago and got away for about a week on our own without the kids
Nice.
and stuff. Yeah, so we got we saw all the sites, and we had a friend who was living out there, and he kind of took us out and about. So
Oh
it was a
yeah,
good time. I really enjoyed it.
nice to have a nice tour guide. You know what I'm saying? And you know what I'm saying, someone who knows where all the green doors are at. You know what I'm talking about? Those green doors. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I love
Yeah.
when those open up.
There's, a matter of fact, one of my favorite ones in Frisco is actually called the Green Door. You know what I mean?
Oh, how convenient.
I know, right? It wasn't just I mean, that actually makes it a double entendre, right? But okay, so Miles, so like we covered a little bit in the intro about all the different sites that you write for, different companies or what have you, right? But take me to a little bit, back in your early days when you decided like, I'm gonna embark on this journalism route and start writing like for sports and stuff.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, I guess if you want to take it back, you got to take it back to the beginning, right? Because I'm fairly new at the writing for the sports thing. I'm in my second season actually, so I haven't been doing that very long. But I've been writing for as long as I can remember. My mom was an English teacher.
Nice.
When I got out of high school, I had an English major in college. I double majored with that and political science, thinking I was going to do something as a lawyer maybe one day, but that didn't quite follow through. Although at my day job now, I do work in the legal field, so that kind of coincided. But the writing I kept going throughout college. I really liked doing that. My essays were like it was fun. I'd throw them together the night before. I'd write like 8 to 15 pages, turn them in the next day, and get like an A or B. So that's always come a little bit natural.
So
to
you
me.
mean to say if there was a table full of like 20 essays, yours would stand out? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, most likely,
Like a
actually.
peacock?
So,
You feel me?
yeah, you got to let me fly. They were
Yeah.
bright and colorful and entertaining. So I kind of like to do that with my writing and get people kind of engaged. I know that fantasy football is very analytical and can be a little bit bland, so I kind of like to mix it up a little bit and get the reader engaged with what I'm putting out there. Like to ask questions and make sure that they're thinking a little bit when they're reading my articles.
I can't lie. Like,
When
when I started checking out some of your articles on rumboys.com, that's rumboys with a Z. You know what I'm saying? Not even a shameless plug. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, when I started reading some of your articles, you would have had me fooled. I would have swore you've been writing sports. You were been in sports journalism. For several years. Like it was very seasoned, I should say.
Yeah. I think it was a fluid transition for me because I love sports so much. I played for sports at high school. I've always been into that journalism side of things. I worked on the yearbook in high school. I did some video work. I actually do legal video work now.
Cool.
So podcasting and all that other stuff just kind of came once I decided to do it maybe about 2 years ago and kind of get into this industry. And then I found that it was so friendly and everybody was so inviting and
it really
willing
is,
to share
bro.
and grow together.
Like, my background, in a nutshell, my background is obviously I'm a recording artist and producer, sound engineer. Like I know that that was I was on both sides of the spectrum in the music, right? And then at one point I even worked for an online magazine and I was doing interviews and like so that was kind of the precursor to me doing podcasting and stuff like that. But it's like, yo man, like the music industry, it's cutthroat. I mean, just like any industry, but like I couldn't, like say you're a rapper and I'm a rapper. I couldn't have just been like, yo, what's up, Peacock? Let's do a joint together. You know what I'm saying? You might have been like, oh yeah, we'll see what's up. You know what I mean? Like artists, they have a level of ego, even though we had the same common denominator, but in the fantasy industry, I felt like having the same common denominator is more recognized. Like, oh, you talk fantasy, I talk fantasy, let's get together. You know what I'm saying? What do you say? And it's like, it's so much fun.
A little different.
Yeah, and like, you know, because in fantasy too, you need different perspectives. You know what I mean? Like, or else we would all just listen to one person, right? Like, you need, and you know, same way. Like, you know, I'm like, okay, Miles, he's definitely a Texans fan, and even if you minus that out of the picture, I respect your perspective already. Where it was like, I think my viewers would love to hear what you got to say, and in this case, more specifically about the Texans, because you know what I mean. Like, you're now my Texans consultant in that sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess you in that aspect, and a lot of guys in the industry will tend to, you know, gravitate towards the team, and that's always cool because you know that they play fantasy as well, and even though that they have this insight and extra knowledge about a certain team, they're not going to be biased about that team, given the context of the entire fantasy realm.
But see, I definitely think that especially if I talk about the Rum Boys specifically, I definitely can tell that like people can differentiate their fandom, like their homer. They can take the homer hat off and just talk just talk about the team in general. That's why, I mean, another, you know, reason why too, like I brought you on. It's kind of that double-edged sword where it's like, you know, your Texans team because you're a fan of them. So, like, you'll be able to tell me, you know, the standouts in your draft haul, like, you know, if they fit correctly or if they're a good pick at all. Because for some reason, I feel like sometimes our type of fandom knows, like, what our team needs. You know what I mean? Like, kind of more than management.
I do. And I think it's a little bit harder for me as a Texans fan these last couple of years because it's just been so hard to actually try to figure out what Bill O'Brien, or in the way we refer to him as Bob. What Bob is going to do, because he's kind of all over the place, and it's not your general objective math will just be like, this makes sense, so this is what he should do. It's like, this makes sense, so he's probably going to do the opposite. So it's been a little tougher for me recently, but I'm rolling with the punches and still having fun with it.
Yeah. So, so one more thing before we actually get to your Texans. So, you know, you know, you didn't. I mean, it is obvious for any of y'all that tune into the Rum Boys After Dark, or even any time you see Miles on there, you know, he's flexing literally and metaphorically. You know what I'm saying? And like, so, you know, I feel like that also helps your analysis because you could analyze a player and be like, this guy's really in shape, or this guy's not in, you know what I mean? Because you have that fitness background, you know what I mean? Like, this guy really knows, he's really athletic, or this, you know what I mean? Because, you know.
No, I do know what you mean.
Yeah.
Like, I appreciate you bringing that up. I was, like I said, I did play 4 sports in high school. I wasn't like a super athlete or anything like that. I think I was okay, and I was undersized, but I worked really hard, and I kind of a late bloomer, so. And then I didn't pick my sport, but my own personal athletic prowess, or, you know, accolades from back then don't really matter. The thing is that later on in life, I continued that, and I became a CrossFit trainer, and then I owned a gym for 5 years, and I really got to, you know, break down and see how, you know, body works and you know, extreme different types of physical fitness, and kind of tying all things together. So when you look at like an athlete's spark score or just pure athleticism on the field, like somebody like DK Metcalf, you know, you can kind of throw some stupid analytics out of the way and just look at an athlete and say, you know, this person is special. So I feel like I kind of do have a little bit of a knack for that, which
I mean,
kind of does help it.
So you mean you would say that your knack makes you stand out from all these other analysts?
Most definitely. Most definitely.
Hey,
like it.
We're gonna rock that Peacock syndrome run-on joke the whole way, because it ain't no joke. I'm on here with the Peacock, goddammit. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. Everybody who listens to this is definitely going to have that in the back of their head. Or when they see my name or
for sure.
Or watch this on the Rum Boys, they'll definitely be doing that. So that's cool, because I have a lot of my friends who actually do that already. So,
yeah, you already got a Bird Gang call.
Exactly.
Nice.
I know that we touched up a little bit on my background. I did want to add that I worked for an advertising company for a little while, and I did write on the internet trying to kind of, you know, sell certain products at like garage stores and attorneys' services and things like that. So I do have a little bit of a background as far as writing for.
So you definitely know how to write, like how to dress something up too. Like if it needs to be sold, you would definitely know how to dress something up. You know what I mean, for a consumer in that sense too.
That's true. I don't try to like sell my articles. What I do is I kind of start writing something.
Well, I'm not saying like sell as in like for currency, but you know what I mean. Like you dress something up, like because I'd imagine in advertising too. It's like a product that you believe in, or in this case of someone's a service. It'd be easy to write about, but if it's a job, and sometimes you gotta use that writing skill you have to. You know what I'm saying?
Well, fantasy football is just so much more easy to write for or write about. It's because it's a passion. Football is awesome to watch. It's just something that's kind of been around since I was a little kid. In my blood. The town I grew up in is one of those classic Friday Night Live towns. So I think when I was a senior, we started a win streak. We went like 7-0 in our season in regular season play, and then for 10 following seasons, our school did not lose a regular season.
Snap!
Non-district game. So,
dang. So Fridays were lit for a decade straight, essentially.
Definitely. Shout out to my hometown of Edcal, Chelsea, the mighty Yellow Jackets. The Black Hole is what they call the stadium there. The crowd gets crazy on Friday nights. They live, eat, breathe, and shit.
So you guys were swarming. The Yellow Jackets were swarming, B.
Pursue, swarm, and strike was the motto there. You eat thunder and you crap lightning in that school.
I love the Rocky rep. That's Rocky, right? Look, Rock, you're gonna eat. Yeah,
exactly.
You're gonna be greasy fast. You know what I'm saying?
A lot of tradition in football, so writing about it came naturally.
One more actually before we do get to the Texans. What's the origin of the Peacock? Like, how did that come about? I mean, was it your ability? Was it solely based on your ability to stand out, or with your writing, or with your physique? You know what I'm saying? Like, what was the origin of the Peacock?
Nothing crazy like that. The Peacock is actually my surname. It's my last name. Passed down from generations. It's an Irish, English surname. It was actually given to my grandmother, who never married and had my father, and so he kept my grandmother's name. So you're from
a legacy, a lineage of a long line of peacocks. I love that.
Yeah, no, it's totally true, and I've run with it. It was a curse when I was a kid because growing up down here, I think the population's like 99%, Hispanic or Mexican, and I'm Hispanic, and I'll identify that way. But I got picked on for being the white guy, which is weird.
The green, because you had a gringo name, essentially.
Exactly. So that and I had a few of my other friends who had white last names, but were also, I think identified as Hispanic. Ran into that. My buddy, the mayor, Robert Smallstreet, and Chris Kellum, and some other guys that I went to school with. Yeah,
those all totally sound like white guys for sure.
Yeah, but they spoke Spanish, and we all hung out, and some of them were darker than I am. But it is what it is. It is what it is. But yeah, the Peacock actually is my last name, so I just stuck with it.
That's awesome. Okay, well, speaking of things that are awesome, when you looked at your favorite team, you know what I'm saying, and I know as a fan of the Texans, you know what I'm saying, I know, like, I mean, on paper, for real, they're awesome, man. Like, as a Texans fan, I mean, it might be a gift and a curse having Bob, but I think you guys have only missed the playoffs like once in the past 5 years, if I can remember correctly. You know what I mean?
No,
even with Brock Osweiler, or even when that year you guys had Hoyer, like you guys have been in. I mean, you guys have had some one and dones, and you guys had, I do remember when you guys beat the Raiders and moved on to the next round, and last year you guys beat the Bills. You know what I mean? Like you guys are always in contention. You know what I'm saying? So I want you to look. Let's look at the draft class, your draft haul. And I just want you to point out some of the key players that you guys drafted that you think can automatically contribute to this contender and maybe get them to that next step.
Okay. Well, yeah, to answer the automatic question, I mean, the contender would have to be coming straight from their first pick. Somebody who could come in, be hopefully more than just a rotational player, and that's Ross Blacklock out of TCU. He was the number 40 overall pick that the Texans were able to acquire with the Duke Johnson / DeAndre Hopkins trade that everybody was so pissed off about. By the way, I'm over now. Thanks for asking. But
I didn't want to bring it up.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. That's why I said thanks.
I'm still mad at it for you, even. Like, you know what I'm saying? Don't worry, I'll stay mad for you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, the latest on that is that, I don't know if you saw I think it was Sports Illustrated cover piece with DeAndre Hopkins, and he's like, he basically got what he wanted. He knew that the Texans would trade him if he asked for, in his words, a slight raise. But, he's justified in leaving because he deserves that type of money. And unfortunately, the Texans aren't an organization that's going to pay top-level talent to stay unless they, decide it's right when their rookie contract ends and they're going to, keep you for life.
Yeah.
Usually, like what they did with Andre Johnson, and maybe even J.J. Watt. His career's yet to culminate, but that's where it seems like it's heading. It didn't happen that way for guys like Marvin Williams or Jadeveon Clowney. So, or Dwayne Brown or other people that they ended up drafting and then letting go later. So you can see that they have a history of not retaining that top-level talent once they ask for what they're owed. And I don't know where that stems from. I guess it's trying to think of the future of the team.
It could even be like, some Bill Belichick like residue, you know what I'm saying? Like his time with Bill Belichick where he's like, well, this is what Bill does. You know what I mean? Like,
but Bill makes it work.
Yeah, that's
the other
true.
Bill Belichick makes it work.
Yeah, and if you think about it, you know what I'm saying? Like, DeAndre Hopkins, you know what I'm saying? He might get that Christmas card one day from Watson when Watson gets paid, and he's like, "Thanks, bro," because in order to pay Watson, because they're gonna break the bank on him eventually. You know what I mean?
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, and I guess it's like the precursor in that sense, right? Like, you know what I mean? And I think if a player is unhappy, I think money might not be an issue. Like, oh well, I can stay here if you pay me more. Like, dude had problems with his baby moms and shit, and like, I get, that's one thing you kind of don't want to in a locker room is having one of the most respected players, have all the other guys in the locker room start saying, hey man, they ain't treating Nuke right, man, fuck this shit, and then what I mean, it could, so I guess like I said, if you want to look at it, I am a glass half full kind of guy. This maybe in the next season or two, this will make a lot more sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, to add on that, Bill O'Brien did say in his press conference he begged the fans to evaluate this in 2 or 3 years and see how it turns out. But I think that all that other stuff was really noise. The whole Michael Irvin bringing out the conversation and DeAndre wanting to move and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I think that Bill O'Brien felt that if he locked in DeAndre Hopkins first, long term like that he would not have wiggle room to bring in guys later on, like a decent running back. And, unless they hit in the draft, right? He can't bank on that. So he wouldn't have the wiggle room to lock in other players like Tunsil, like a receiver or several receivers, two running backs, and work the entire team, because I feel like you do that, you give this man a raise, and then he's locked in for another 3 or 4 years. And then, that locks you up for those years. You can't move.
Yeah.
You're in a gridlock. Whereas you sign somebody else like Cobb, and they gave him a 3-year deal, but it's only so much up front. And then you have the option to terminate the contract after one season. Same thing with David Johnson. I mean, you're going to have some dead cap. But the thing is, they have options to move on from those players if they don't work out. If DeAndre Hopkins got his payday and then gets hurt and it's something crazy that he can't recover from, then they're screwed for 3 to 4 years or whatever it may be.
Yeah,
so
that's a solid
that's
point.
the only way that's looking at it glass half full kind of thing. I think that Bill O'Brien moved on. That way he'd have more room to bring in the other kind of talent that he could evaluate and then figure out who he's going to move on with after a year or two. So, I mean, we'll see how it goes. But back to your question, I think that Blaylock, that's the main key. He's the first pick, so it's going to be like, okay, we got this guy. We got rid of Hopkins, and we essentially drafted this player, with that, if you want to look at it that way. And so he should hopefully turn out. I looked at his tape on film. I saw some of TCU's games last season. He's a big dude up the middle. He's nimble. He's good downfield. He's not necessarily like a huge pass rusher, but he's really good against the run. And when it is a passing situation, he can shed the block and then, get his ears back and really create some havoc up the middle. So that's going to be very important for them because they just lost DJ Reader in free agency.
Oh, yeah.
And they will sign a massive deal.
I was about to point that out. And even like just thinking about that division, you got the Titans line, you got the Colts line, which is phenomenal. And then of course you got Jacksonville. But I mean, it's all three teams that love to run the ball. You know what I mean? And even if you want to look at your division, you guys probably run the least out of all four of those teams. So it's like you're going to need someone to stop the run. So you know what I mean? So these opposing teams in your division don't own time of possession. You know what I mean? I think it's a great. And is it still Romeo Cornell there?
Romeo Cornell is still there. He's not in charge of the defense anymore. It's now Anthony Weaver, who got promoted from another role.
Wasn't he like the linebacker coach or something like that?
Yes, he was a linebacker coach who took over for Vrabel after.
He knows what to do with a front. I like that. So that's a good.
Yes. So Cornell has now moved on into like an upper defensive kind of coordinator type, not defensive coordinator, but like an upper management type role to assist Bill O'Brien like he did in the past when Vrabel was the SEC there.
Yeah.
So Cornell is still around, but he has his fingerprints, but he's not necessarily in charge of the defense. It will be Weaver this season. So I do like this pick. He was on my short list of guys they should take with the number 40 pick. And so I'm not upset about it. I think that he has a lot of potential. I think that he can learn some things on the interior defensive line with a little bit of experience.
Yeah.
And he could definitely get some playing time right away and make an impact. I think he had 7 sacks or something like that in a season. I don't have his stats right in front of me, but I mean, he's an impressive specimen. He's a big dude, and he really clogs up the middle. He's no DJ Reader, and he's no Vince Wilfork, but he could be for a short period of time. And hopefully he plays more than 60% of the snaps in his first season, because that's really realistically what DJ Reader was doing in his entire career there.
It's crazy too, because with that coaching staff, they definitely are old school minded, where it's like they're they let these rookies have to work their way in to full complement of snaps too. You know what I mean? So I think he'll be a rotational guy initially, but I mean that's kind of good though. And for some guys, because rookies too, think about it. A lot of rookies, they hit that rookie wall because their conditioning is different in the NFL. So kind of easing them in might be good for this kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, he did have an Achilles injury back in 2018. I think that kind of capped his development and consistency last season. But he flashed, that first round capability. So I think that picking him up early in the second was really a win for the Texans in that regard, especially when they're trying to, replace Breaker, like I was mentioning. There were some other guys that were on the board that I kind of liked at that time, like Epinesa and
Epinesa was a beast.
Yes, there were some other guys there, but I think that this was a good first pick because with their second pick, they were able to actually get a little bit of a steal in Jonathan Bernard out of Florida, and he was really hellacious and great. He was a linebacker, but he also played a little bit
safety, right? Or what was it?
No,
he played on the edge.
He would also get on the edge and get down. So he would, be from a stick, both standing and down on all fours, so 3-point stance or whatever.
Yeah, he could put his hand in the dirt and he could come screaming off the edge. I like that.
Yeah, so you have a run stopper with your first pick that you're getting with Blacklock, right? And then you have an edge guy who can also kind of fit in and play linebacker, but he's also pretty decent in coverage. And he had a tremendous year at Florida after transferring. So I really like his potential. I think that he's going to be somebody who can develop really nice for Houston and learn a lot from J.J. Watt.
Yeah.
Out of the edge, and maybe develop as an edge rusher because they didn't really attack that with the first two picks. And they had very limited picks with this because of obviously the trade for Tunsil and Stills and some of the other things that they did in the previous seasons.
Yeah. So with the limitations on as far as their draft picks. You know what I mean? The value is a must, and the hype. He's kind of a hybrid guy, like you said. And I mean, I'm not trying to knock the Texans, but I feel like they have that injury bug, and
they do.
He'll be able to fill in at the line or fill in that linebacker, or what I mean, just in case someone else gets hurt. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think one of the last Texans games I actually went to, they were playing the Kansas City Chiefs when Alex Smith was still quarterback, and Patrick Mahomes was in his rookie year, and I believe J.J. Watt broke his leg.
Oh yeah,
and
I remember
Whitney
that.
Merciless.
I want to say that was week 1, even.
No, I think it was like week 4. It was.
It was definitely early in the year. Yeah, I think
and so that same year, I think 3 games later, Deshaun Watson ends up tearing his ACL, and that's the same year that they missed the playoffs.
Yeah, out of the past 5 years, that's the one year, the one season. Which
Correct.
is understandable because Watson went down. Hey, that's right. Week 1 they played the Jags that year. That's right. When they tried to fool around with Tom the Macho Man Savage. Remember?
Yes, I love that. I would always say that, and I would say that the Macho Man is running miles. I would say he's running miles, not wild. He's running miles.
He's running miles. Oh yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Tom Savage was just so not even mediocre. He was just bad.
Hell of a name, though. Hell of a quarterback name. You know what I mean?
Great quarterback name. I think he's actually still in the league.
No way.
But, yeah, no, he's backing up.
So the madness is still running miles. You know what I'm saying? What you gonna do when the madness runs wild on you?
Surprisingly, the Texans still managed to surprise me. They have a lot of fight, a lot of grit. I was at a game when Brock Osweiler was quarterback, and they were losing 26 to 13 or something, going into the fourth quarter. Everybody left, and it was a Thursday night football game, I believe, actually, or Sunday night, sorry. And they ended up forcing a comeback, and they kick a field goal. They go into overtime, and they win by a field goal. And I lost my voice, and T.Y. Hilton was crying on the sidelines, and Lamar Miller scored.
I remember that game.
Yeah, it was crazy times.
We're talking 2016, I want to say.
Maybe 16 or 17. Yeah,
because it was the Lamar Miller year. You know what I'm saying? Oh yeah, 2017. 2017.
Yeah, it was probably one of his first. It's probably one of his first years, and so Lamar Miller, he put up 1,000 all-purpose yard seasons 4 years consecutively with the Texans. So I expect that minimum from David Johnson. I'm just putting that out there. But I think David Johnson's going to have a bounce-back year, especially considering the way he was used last season.
And we're kind of having a mashup. We're kind of having a mashup of the reality and fantasy talk, and I do want to add.
Oh, sorry.
No. I love this. I love the more organic approach anyway. You know what I mean? But I do want to add.
The 2015 season, but he will be better. But yeah, we can continue with the draft here.
No. This is fine because I actually wanted to backpack what you said about DJ. It's like DJ might be an incredible value because people are so scorned off of him for the past couple years, and then I even worried about who's going to take the top off for DJ. But if they're smart and they can, they like you see, even with them bringing in my man, the Duke of Earl Sandwich Johnson, right? He's a guy with pass catching chops. You know what I'm saying?
And so is DJ. He's one of the most efficient running backs in the NFL. Ever since what 2015 for real? Like when he was on the shitty ass Browns. And think about this with David Johnson, he's the same thing too. Like they used, when he was in Arizona, they line him out wide. They put him in the slot. So I'm hoping the utilization is going to be there. In every aspect. And then you look at how the league is right now, and then it is a copycat league, and the Chiefs just won the Super Bowl. So. And they won it with speed. You know what I mean? And with Brandon Cooks and Will Fuller out there, and Kenny Stills, who also is a burner in his own right. There's so much speed on the field. You know what I mean? I think he's gonna see these 6-man boxes that you know what I'm saying, that he was accustomed to seeing before in his heyday. You know what I mean? Yeah, I can envision that, and I can also envision them starting him out in the backfield and then motioning him out to the slot, like you said, and using him as a receiver. He's an excellent receiver as well, and you could start with 2 running backs in the backfield and end up with one and do a handoff or a read or whatever it is, or end up with no backs in the backfield and have them both run passes. They're both great, like you mentioned, maybe slot type receivers. receivers, and they've had trouble with that slot receiver role in the past, which is why I think they offered Randall Cobb so much money from the Cowboys to come over and kind of fill that role.
Because they don't, Kiki, we don't love you, is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, Kiki was a Wes Welker pounding the table on draft day thing, and so Bill O'Brien listened to him and took him with the late, I think it was
one of those.
Something like that. And so Wes Welker's no longer on the coaching staff.
Can I ask you a question? Do you think the Houston Texans trainers are, there could be an issue with them because like everyone seems to like pop up with hamstrings, like maybe there's an issue with trainers there. I mean, I'm talking about everyone from Kiki to who else? Fuller and even everyone on defense basically at one point or another. You know what I mean? Like
all the cornerbacks.
Yeah.
No, that's a very good point that you brought up. They actually fired their old strength and conditioning coach, I believe, at the end.
Okay, good. Because that's one thing people don't look at. People don't look at shit like that. But whenever there's something reoccurring and it's specific, it's like, somebody's training these guys incorrectly. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So that's a great point. I think Brian Cushing is still on the coaching staff now, but he's going into his second year. He didn't really take a bigger role, but I feel like he's gonna have a bigger voice in the weight room for them now. I know that he had like PED issues and stuff like that, but that has nothing to do with the way the guy. That has nothing to do with the way the guy trained. You know what I mean? He wasn't getting hurt, but
he gets all these flashbacks on the field, like he's at war and shit, like.
No, it's PTSD. He has PED. Like,
PED. Oh, I think it said PTSD. Oh, yeah. Performance enhancing drugs. Oh, yeah. I know a thing or two about those. You know what I'm saying? Speaking of that, I'm going to light something.
I think that's one of the main reasons why they brought in Randall Cobb, because he credited the Dallas Cowboys coaching staff with really working on his hamstrings to get them strengthened up again. And he had a fabulous season for them last year in the slot. So maybe he will bring some of that knowledge over to the Houston Texans, locker room, and everybody will have nice healthy hamstrings.
And it would be great for Watson, because even though Watson is, he's been in the league a few years now, he's still young. And like if you look at all his receiving options over the last couple years, Hopkins was basically the only one you could kind of consider a veteran. You know what I mean? Where it's like Randall Cobb can do so much more for that locker room as well, that receiver room. Like, you know what I mean? Like, give him some tips and be a safety blanket out of the slot for a young QB like Watson.
Right, and they also brought in, Brandon Cooks, who has, he's been.
Yeah, he's basically a veteran. Yeah.
Yeah, he's been to a Super Bowl twice. He has those 4 consecutive 1,000-yard receiving seasons before last year, and he kind of got phased out of that offense, I feel.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. You're bringing in some veterans to help out Watson. I think that he's going to be a lot better off than people are just thinking right off the bat. Like, you're downgrading from Hopkins. And yeah, Hopkins is great, man. He's a world beater. I love him to death, but at the same time, the offense might be a little bit more balanced.
It might be able to open up more instead of just having to concentrate and pepper, the best player you got. Like, you know what I mean?
Or people being like, why does Hopkins only have 3 targets? They got to get this guy going. And that's the way you get the offense going. You don't want to have to do it that way. You want to get Watson going.
It makes you more multi-dimensional in that sense, right? Like instead of like let's just triple team Hopkins because we know that's where they're going. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah, and now you can't double team anybody because I feel like they have so much speed that they're going to burn you if you try to do that or roll coverage to one side. So.
I just thought of something for David Johnson also, like the fact that Watson is mobile. So it's like, you're gonna have to keep a spy on him. Like, I think I might be talking myself into DJ because I've been seeing him go in like the 6th round, 7th round.
That's way too late.
That's crazy. I mean, I'm pretty sure he'll move up a little bit by the time we get closer to like the actual season.
Fourth round is probably a really good ADP for him. I think he has like early 4th, late 3rd real value on draft day for redraft leagues. I took him in a fantasy dynasty startup, like in the, golly, man, I don't know, like 10th or 11th round.
I was going to say for sure, because with all them rookies and shit, like, yeah. And even just like, it's funny because, dynasty makes people look more at the youth side of it. And they'll be like, oh, well, he's old. he's 20, what is he, 28? Something like that?
Yeah, he's 28.
Yeah,
he's 28. He has a few years left in him.
Yeah, and at the same time too, if you think about it, he hasn't really seen too much field time. Like even when he broke his or dislocated his wrist, you know what I'm saying? Like that year in Arizona, it wasn't like his legs were all fucked up. You know what I mean? So it's like the tread is probably he still got his tread on the tire. I mean, last year
I think he did have an ACL injury right around the same time, but it wasn't
It was.
like
You're right. It was a sprain. It was a sprained MCL, if I remember correctly. You're right.
Yeah, it wasn't a clean tear or anything like that.
Yeah, but also too, like even last year, I mean, he looked terrible at times, but I think it was just he wasn't a system fit. You know what I mean? Like
he was part of the old regime, and it was a new coach and a new style of play coming in with a new quarterback. So a lot of things changed for him, unfortunately, and I think he just kind of fell out of favor, and that's not his fault.
Yeah. Okay, so who we did kind of touch on your secondary. You guys did address that, right, in the draft?
So we did address the secondary with the fifth pick, but there was a pick that came with the fifth pick, but there was a pick that came before that.
Okay.
No, it was I was messing up the pick numbers. I'm sorry. It was
all good.
It was the fourth overall pick for the Texans, but they didn't have a first round, so he came in the fifth round, the defensive back. But just before they did that, they did a weird thing. They traded back with their second round pick.
Their original. Their original second round, right?
No, they had. Yeah, they messed all that up. What they ended up doing was they took Grenard in the third, and then they traded another third, if I'm not mistaken, and they traded back. So they traded that with a couple of 7-rounders to trade back, and then they traded back up, and they gave up another 7th rounder to move back up and pick up offensive tackle Charlie Heck out of North
I like that.
Carolina.
Even if I don't know anything about that player, they just need depth on that line. They need to protect their franchise quarterback. I mean, I can say all the cliche things, but that's why I'm me. So now I want you to break down that player and why, why that really is a good pick.
Yeah, no. I think it's a great player, personnel-wise pick, and it makes sense for the team. I just don't like the fact that they moved back and then moved back up to do it. But other than that, and then what they did was they drafted a player for depth because they also have Roger Johnson as the right tackle, and then they have Larry Tunsil as the left tackle. This guy's clearly a tackle, so they're probably not going to move over to guard. So because
Tunsil does got the injury history, and you know what I mean.
Yeah, so what it is it's more of a depth piece, and this kid, his dad is the offensive line coach for the Kansas City Chiefs, so his football IQ is like off the charts. He's also like 6'8" and 315 pounds with long arms and quick feet. So he seems like a player that they're adding for depth, but I wouldn't be surprised if he maybe wins a starting spot.
Yeah, I was gonna say with that size and the length of what I'm saying, like because being able to hold off them defenders as long as you can, having them long arms for sure. You know what I mean? You're gonna win on the line. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they do have, like I said, they do have Titus Howard also, who they drafted last year, coming back from injury, who's going to be able to help them out.
Oh, that was was that your first round pick last season?
Yeah, he was the second round pick. He was the first.
With the first pick. Okay, yeah.
Right.
Damn it, Bob just all the assets, just throw them up. It's funny because when you're explaining how you didn't really agree with the moving up and down and all that just to get this lineman. In my head, I was just like, man, it just sounds like what we're used to with Bob. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It wouldn't be a Bill O'Brien draft if he
doing Bob things.
Yeah, he's doing Bob things. But they also drafted Max Sharping last year in the same draft, and he was playing pretty well until he got injured. So now it seems like they do have some guys that we kind of forgot about that might be able to bolster that offensive line and help them out a little bit more. And then you inked Tunsil long term. You're working on that long-term deal for Watson now. That's been the rumor, and it's been, reported. So that's going to be coming pretty soon. So they're going to anchor all that down and then really try to protect him and hopefully get him away from 2 years ago. He was sacked over 60 times. Last year, they brought that down into the 40s, but it was still like the fourth highest in the league. So whatever it is, you got to protect Watson. And I think that's what they've been trying to do, bringing in all these other weapons, with speed, getting the ball out quick, and then still trying to protect them up front. But
Do you
I think that they, it was interesting getting that lineman in this draft. It was kind of like a what the heck, even though his name's Charlie Heck, but
Yeah.
it was a what the heck type moment. But it's still not a bad. It wasn't like an F or a D grade. That was easily like a B type of player that they drafted there. It's just that I didn't know if they really needed him at that time. They probably could have waited or saved some of their picks, but they did what they did. They did Bob things.
Bob things. You know what I'm saying? You might say he was bobbing and weaving. You know what I'm saying? Like just doing a bob. Instead of bobbing for these players, you know what I'm saying? He was just bobbing and weaving. You know what I mean?
It's going to be Bob and Anthony Weaver, the defensive coordinator, hoping that their first round or their first selection.
Nice. Oh man, I so hope they start to work this year and everything starts to click, so I can say that. Oh, there's bobbing and weaving over there. That's so tight. That's right. His name is Weaver, the DC. Oh, that's great.
That was tremendously. But no, you asked me about getting secondary help, and they did in the 5th round, like I was talking about. They moved on, and they picked up with a 141st overall pick. They picked up John Reed out of Penn State, and so they all know that Bill O'Brien coached at Penn State, so he probably had an eye on this guy.
Oh yeah, and he probably he's in well contacts with the scout department over there and stuff like that. So yeah, okay. Yeah, tell me more about Reed.
That's why they took this guy. He's a little undersized, but he's smart, he's quick, he has good hips, good footwork, he's a little bit of a ball hawk, and he can also, it looks like he can help in the return game from what I saw on film. I saw him returning things. And
and they're gonna need help in that too, so they could try to preserve as much Will Fuller as possible, because we all know when Will Fuller's on the field, it is like a game changer. So if they could preserve him as much and not have him returning kicks and just keep him solely as a receiver, I like that. It's kind of been the theme. It's kind of the theme, right, of your guys' picks so far in this draft class. Like these guys that are multifaceted. So like in this case, he's a corner, but he could also be a return man.
Right. Yeah. No. Like exactly. Like with Heck in the one before, the lineman that they took in the round before that, he could play right tackle, he could play left tackle.
Yep. Exactly.
A swing tackle backup, maybe for certain packages or when somebody's injured, just to kind of fill the
even
gap.
The linebacker DE/DE you're talking about earlier. I forget his name. Bernard, yeah. You see, I like that.
Bernard, yeah.
I like. I kind of like what they're doing.
And that's what they do. Basically, they like guys that are versatile, that can do different things for them, that aren't like specialty players that are just excel in one area. So I think that's another reason they went with John Reed here, the cornerback out of Penn State. He's a very smart athlete. He had 37 interceptions and 37 passes defended in 40 games in his college career.
Oh, shit.
So, yeah. So the only knock on him, like I said, would be his size. He's a little bit undersized, so he'll probably fit in as a nickel or slot corner for them on the team, because they did just let go of Deshaun Gibson, who they had signed from the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah.
And he was really good in coverage, really great on locking down big tight ends for the Texans, but he just couldn't stay healthy, and it happened again. So I think they just decided to move on from him. And even though they had him, on contract for a little bit more, they're going to have to let him go. But I think that it's a smart move. I mean, if they pay him and extend him, and it happens to him again, which has been happening in his football career, it just wouldn't be wise for the Texans. So they drafted a guy that they could put up to come in and do slot corner type of work in a nickel package and go a little bit smaller, maybe bring Justin Reed down into the box and have him play strong, things of that nature. They're still working on their secondary, but they did bring in, like I said, some help with this kid, and he looks really good as a return man. Like I said, he's returned kicks and punts, and
that's where his smaller, shiftier size will come in handy too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and when he's intercepted passes, he looks really great returning the football on film as well. So I feel like he's going to come in and probably be somebody to help right away on special teams at the very least, because they do have Deandre Carter, who's the backup slot receiver, returning kicks, and we all saw him fumble the ball away in the playoffs against the Chiefs. Kind of
oh,
run.
Shit. Damn, that changed the whole tide of the game.
I don't mean to bring it up. I think they acquired him from the Philadelphia Eagles, if I'm not mistaken, but he's had a few questionable return, things in that offense, and he's just not up to par as the kind of guy, the next guy you want up.
Dang, so it's a double-edged sword as far as needs.
Yeah, I think that's what they did with a lot of these picks.
I respect Bob for this. I respect him.
Yeah.
Fill the needs, because there's too many needs to be filled to begin with. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, he created some of those needs, but
exactly.
He didn't draft a receiver because, guess what? He picked up all the other ones in free agency before he even, decided to. And so he had an inside, at least yet into this part of the draft. They did pick up a receiver, who I'm going to talk about with their last pick next. I
missed that. They did get a receiver.
Yeah, they got a receiver in Coulter out of Rhode Island.
You know what's funny too is because when we're doing draft coverage, it was like 3 days straight. So now this is like day 3, right? This pick.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I was on the level by that day.
I was on the level with you because we were both doing the draft coverage for Rumble.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's yeah. For all the playmakers, listen to this. You know what I'm saying? I know we referenced this earlier, but yeah, you know what I'm saying? I love being the Peacock's co-host on those Friday nights, and in this case, we basically had Friday night 3 days in a row, essentially. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was fun. I only joined you guys for the last day because I needed my liver to work for the rest of the day. But it was fun, and this was the last on-camera or on-video call that I was able to make before I left the house. I had to go run a quick errand and do some stuff or whatever it was.
Peacock things, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, essential travel during this quarantine, trust me. But yeah, so they picked up Isaiah Coulter out of Rhode Island, and apparently this is somebody that Bill O'Brien had put some feelers out for, like not seeking out, who's this kid, but more like people came back to him and said, hey, take a look at this guy. A coaching friend of his for about 30 years, who's in the Rhode Island system, and some other scouts that had eyes on him. They're saying, hey, this is like a really deep flying, like late round flyer. Use him probably with one of your 7th round picks, but they didn't have any at the time. Because like I said, they traded those away to move up and pick up the offensive lineman in Heck that they got earlier. Yeah. So with their last pitch effort kind of flailing hurrah, they took a stab at Isaiah Coulter. I know Donovan Peoples-Jones and some other names were still kind of out there at the time, but this is somebody that I think Bill O'Brien had a inside track on. He's 6'2". He ran a 4.4 at the combine. He posted 72 receptions for 1,039 yards and 8 receiving touchdowns in his junior year last year in a small Rhode Island school. Don't get me wrong, it's a small school, but he had his best games against bigger competition like Virginia Tech, UConn, and Ohio. So he has an intangible factor, is what you're saying too. He's one of the bigger receivers.
Yeah, no, because when those intangibles, those things you can't measure. Where in this case, he's from a smaller school, but when that real competition stepped on the field, he showed up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he didn't let up. Exactly. He probably even stepped up his game a little bit more. So that was very impressive. He's coming into the NFL a year early, so he's a little bit small, and
he's a tweener.
He's just skinny. I mean, he's 6'2", but he can add some muscle, and that's really going to help him later. Right now, he's like the size of a Kenny Stills or a Will Fuller, but taller.
Okay.
So if you give him a year to mature, he's young. He's like 22 or 23. So give him a year or two to mature and put a little bit of mass. He can be one of those possession receivers for the Texans, I think. And he could really learn from Andre Johnson as a receiver coach there for the Texans and really coach him up. I think that he's going to be interesting because both Kenny Stills and Will Fuller are only under contract for 1 more year. So whoever performs better and stays healthy this year, I think is the guy that they're going to keep. They're going to let the other one go or trade him or try to do something in free agency or, try to work something out.
Yeah, so this is he's a nice little project. He's a working project. And this, like we said, this is like one of the themes of your guys' draft. Like, this is also a need filler for down the road. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, insurance. Yeah. It's like need fit / insurance policy, type of things.
And, I don't want to, even if you look at the Will Fullers, and the Kenny Stills and the Brandon Cooks, they are all injury. They all have injury history. So it's like, yeah, I mean, he might be serviceable, earlier than. I mean, even Randall Cobb, for God's sakes, has his he was always plagued with hamstrings, like you pointed out earlier. So maybe that coaching staff with the Cowboys, what I'm saying, might have did the trick, because he definitely played I think he played all year last year, Randall Cobb.
Yeah, and he almost had about 900 receiving yards out of the slot for the Cowboys, which is pretty impressive considering that they had Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup on the outside.
Hey, he's gonna be a PPR guy. I'm gonna look at late.
I have Randall Cobb in my dynasty league, because I figure he'd be the only lock there for at least a season or two in that slot role, because I don't believe that Kiki Kuti is there just yet. I think he needs to develop one more season and stay completely healthy in order to be that guy for the Texans if he remains on the team. Otherwise, they might move on and look for more slot players somewhere else. But they have plenty of Z receivers, those guys that can just shoot out down the field. But I think that Isaiah Coulter is more of that true X receiver that Hopkins kind of was. That style of intermediate possession.
Even the way you described his build, it kind of reminds me of a young Hopkins. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I just on Twitter, I just shared some of his stats and a highlight video of Isaiah Coulter, and I tagged the headline for it was sleeper in super exaggerated.
Nice. Yeah, a lot of ease.
But he's definitely a sleeper if let's say your rookie draft for Dynasty is over and you're willing to drop somebody who's just not going to come to fruition. You can take a stab at this guy in free agency.
Even if you're willing to drop Kiki QT or someone like that, fuck it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There could definitely be somebody, like you said, the Texans wide receiver core is it's opportunistic, and if you can stay healthy in that wide receiver core, then you are going to do damage. Let's just put it that way. But staying healthy is the key.
Yeah, and you know what? Here is the one thing I do worry about the Texans, as far as the fantasy wise, Watson. I can just remember so many games where he barely topped 25 pass attempts. You know what I mean? And that's the one thing. But I mean, for the most part, he was fairly efficient. You know what I mean? And let's go there with Watson, because I know we have 2 more picks in this class.
Actually, no, they don't. That was their final draft pick, and everybody else they signed was an undrafted free agent. So they had some few undrafted free agency signings, which I haven't really dived into just yet as far as my research. But
all good. I mean, because when it comes. Those guys too, they might not make an immediate effect anyway. Those guys still need to make the team essentially. So, but okay.
Right.
How about this?
This time last year, I was writing about Karan Higdon, and nobody's even heard spot from him. He's basically been almost a practice spot player for the Texans, and he did so well running the football for Michigan just a few seasons ago. So,
okay. I have a question, and I think you actually have the expertise to answer this question. You know what I mean? Do you think, from your, because you are a fitness, gurus, does that suffice? You're the Peacock, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So I guess you can just explain that. If you didn't have an answer, that is the answer. Man, I'm the Peacock, you know what I'm saying? But anyways, right? So with your...
You agree, the reason I'm right is because I'm the Peacock. Okay.
Oh, yeah, definitely. You know what I'm saying? So Peacock, tell me this. With your your background in fitness and whatnot, do you think Deshaun's frame is a tad wiry? Do you think maybe he should gain a few muscle mass? You think?
I think
because when I see him sometimes, I'm like, damn, this motherfucker be taking them hits. He's kind of, you know what I mean, Am I crazy? Because I be drinking on Sundays when I'm watching. Am I seeing things he's kind of wiry to me?
For somebody who probably values his well-being a little bit more than most fans, he is a little bit wiry, and I do worry about him when he leaves the pocket. And most of the time, this is what happens to me as a Texans fan. I'm like, no, Deshaun, and then I'm like, oh, God, yes. And then it's usually I got a touchdown or whatever it is at the end of the play. Because,
and it's always some kind of magnificent play in that red zone or the 10 zone where he's just, he's just battling to the pylon. He's phenomenal.
Yeah, he has the heart of a champion. And as long as the Houston Texans can keep him on their roster, then you would never want to count them out of a ball game or a season or anything. Because he is just a born winner. His former coach, Dabo Sweeney, said that he is the Michael Jordan of football. And so far, honestly, he's been in the league. I think he's going into his fifth year. He has been. He's proven it. Michael Jordan did win all those championships right away. If you've been following along with The Last Dance.
Yeah.
So, you know that, or if you grew up watching it, like I'm in my mid-30s, and I know you're
Yep, I'm in my mid-30s as well. Yep.
So I know that you and I both grew up watching stuff like that, and so you can see winners. You know them when you see them. Deshaun is definitely one of those guys. So I think once they lock him down, and it's going to happen pretty soon, that maybe they can actually start building for the future. And maybe we are a little too premature in judging Bill O'Brien right now. I mean, Bill O'Brien has done nothing himself but win, actually, despite all these stupid moves. So,
I made a point to point that out earlier, like, because even though we shit on Bob a lot, it's like a gift and a curse. Like it's a curse that he's bad at times, and like it's like. When your team's doing bad at one point in the year, sometimes you just want to okay, stop winning so we can get high in this draft, right? But then it's at the same time, it's like he isn't that bad where he gets you guys into the dance, but then it's like he just can't, it's going deep into the dance and even to the Super Bowl, or even let alone to the AFC title game. You know what I mean? That's been the unicorn for Bill O'Brien. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it has been, definitely. And they just need, maybe that little extra to get him over the hump. This is his first year actually kind of getting full control of the entire, organization.
Yeah, so he's definitely going to be around, too, because he's like, you can't fire yourself if you're the GM also, you know what I mean?
Yeah, sometimes wish that he would have, but I think that maybe we're being a little maybe we are being a little unfair. Maybe we're expecting a little too much. I don't know. Gary Kubiak did really well in one season, and then after that he disappeared. He did that basically everywhere he went if he didn't win a Super Bowl. So I think we went a little bit harsh to Bill O'Brien. I mean, the verdict is still out there.
That's right. I remember Kubiak there, even with Shanahan there, and yeah, fucking Owen Daniels. Yep, we said Owen Daniels at the same time. Because when it's Shanahan and Kubiak, and Johnson was there, Ariel Foster. Oh my God, that was
really those days were really like the birth of my Texans fandom. When I was a kid growing up, I was brought up around the Dallas Cowboys. It wasn't my dad's choice; it was just that his drinking buddies loved it, and that's all it was to watch, really, because nobody.
Well, it's America's team, and you're in Texas, so I get it.
Especially at the time, yeah. So it was a little tougher, but I enjoyed watching the Oilers, and then they disappeared along with McNair, and I was really sad that they went to Tennessee, and then they made it to the Super Bowl and all this stuff, and they didn't really give the rights back to the Texans.
Oh, shit, he said the Oilers. I remember them.
So I was around for all of that, and then when the Texans came back, I was like, I'm not going to watch them. Like, I will, whatever. And it took me about 8 years, and I think in 2010, I was like, hey, I enjoy watching these guys more than I do casually watching it.
And I don't know if call me crazy, but I think they have one of the more badass helmets. The helmet with the helmet on it with the with the horns and I like the logo. That shit is hard.
Yeah, Cowboy fans would like to say oh, you guys want to be like us because you have a star in there, and I was like, bro, that's just the eye of the bull. Plus, it's the Lone Star State. You had to put something in there. But,
exactly.
It's crazy, though, because when the Texans were going to be an organization and be reformed, they were taking suggestions from the fans as to what the name should be. And I suggested the Roughnecks. And this was back in 2000.
Oh, shit. And then the Houston Roughnecks in the XFL recently.
Yeah, so that was really cool for me. I was like, oh, look. I mean, I don't think it was my suggestion. I think there was a lot of other fans as well who were kind of starting to gain steam with that back in 2001 for the Texans. But it was cool. It was cool to see that come back 18 years later and be in the XFL. And I also wrote about the Roughnecks quite a bit. It was so fun because TJ Walker was
because they were one of the. Yeah, I was about to say they had Walker. They were one of the more better teams. Them and I think it was the Dragons. I think was the another.
The Dragons. It was the Battlehawks.
The Battlehawks. There you go. There you go.
Yeah, with Jordan Tamu or whatever. I have him on a dynasty taxi squad. But needless to say, Houston's been fun. I've really, I love Texas. I love Texas sports. I've always been that way. I grew up watching all the Texas teams, whether it was like, in basketball, whether it was the Spurs or the Mavericks or the Rockets. It didn't matter. I was going to cheer for them unless they were playing for each other. Then, I'd pick a side. My room had posters from all the teams back then in baseball. The Astros and the Rangers were in different conferences, so it didn't matter. So I had one half of my wall like with Dickie Pendleton and Pleasure Rodriguez and Paul McCullough, and the other side had like Lance Berkman and Jeff Bagwell and Craig Biggio. So I supported all Texas teams. That's just the way I grew up, and I missed Houston Texans football for a long time. It took a long time to get active because David Carr and whatever they were doing there for the first couple of years was just so bad that I didn't want to be associated with it.
Yeah, and you know what? I like to say I started paying attention to the Houstons. Obviously, it's like, locally I would never see the games, but you see the highlights and stuff, and it was definitely the Kubiak and Shanahan years, and it was also like just J.J. Watt, I remember J.J. Watt, Brian Cushing, or is it Cush or Cushing? Like I remember like back in 2013, that defense was just like. I remember this is when I started playing fantasy too, where it was like they were definitely one of my first fantasy defenses just because of J.J. Watt being there. You know what I mean? Where it was like, you know what I mean?
That's another thing. If he can stay healthy for a full season coming up, like he was tearing it up last year through, I think it was only 8 games or whatever it was. He had.
You know who I like too? I love Merciless.
Oh, Whitney? Oh yes, I wanted a Merciless jersey. So bad.
Yeah, because it's one hell of a name on top of his, to match with his skill set. Like he's merciless. He's just, you know what I mean. It's almost like his dad had to name him like a female name. Like, listen, son, your name is Whitney because your last name is too vicious. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, too bad.
You're too vicious, and
you're gonna get arrested.
Yeah.
I pulled you over. Your name like I don't know what's a good tough guy name. I don't know. Gronk.
Oh yeah, Gronk. Oh yeah, if you read Gronk on paper, you never seen him. You know that guy's tough. You know what I'm saying? This is a good rabbit hole to go down. Now I want to think of some of the more crazier names. There's a guy on the Browns right now. He's a lineman. I think his name is Shredder. And I'm like, that's a fucking awesome name. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Montez Sweat.
See, he sounds like he can not only play football, but then, on the side or even in his future, he might be an R&B artist. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, yo, you got that Montez Sweat album? You know what I'm saying? Like,
sure. Yeah, that would hit for sure. Just on the name alone, like the songs could be trash, but people are gonna buy them.
Like even damn man, it's crazy because in basketball, I had this theory where like if you have two first names, a lot of these great players have two first names. Like Ray Allen, Steve Francis, Michael Jordan, obviously. You know what I'm saying? Like, LeBron James. You know what I mean? Like there's it's kind of like okay, you want to know? I have an ignorant one in football. I loved guys with the hyphenated last name. I don't know. I just couldn't get enough of them. Or Jarvis Green Ellis. You know what I'm saying? Maurice Jones-Drew. You know what I mean?
How do you feel about Gandy Golden or Jonathan Peoples-Jones? You're all about that.
I love them. Just the name value alone.
You know what, dude? I'm gonna hyphenate my name.
Might as well, right?
But I'm just gonna put the hyphen between the
P and the cock. I think we might have had this conversation before on the After Dark. No, but you know what? I think see now it needs to be done. You know what, dude? That's a great suggestion to put in the runboys.com suggestion box as far as merch. Maybe we should get some jerseys going for the summer, right? Okay, what would the number be? What would the number be on the Peacock jersey with the hyphen in it?
I used my old numbers. I used to wear number 11 and 24.
Oh my God, that's how ironic, bro. 11 is my favorite number because I'm born in November, so it's like 11 and 30 are my favorite numbers. So I would either wear a receiver's number or even possibly a quarterback number, right, with 11. But I definitely would love 30 because I'd either be a DB or a running back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was a backup quarterback for 3 years running, so
that 11 sufficed then.
Yeah, so 11 was working, and then some other dude was like, whatever. I was like, I don't care. I'll go play DB, and I was actually playing defensive back. So I was like, 24 looks better than playing defensive back with number 11. So
yeah.
I ended up switching.
And I like that. Okay. So and you know what I'm saying?
And then I went to receiver, my senior year, and I was like, well, screw that. I'm just going to stick with 24. I'm not going to change again.
Yeah. No, but that's cool, though, because, you know what I'm saying? In high school and in college, you see that a lot. You know what I mean? As far as receiver numbers. Oh, yeah. You know what I mean?
I would do that.
Oh, yeah. You know what, too?
I think T. Higgins is actually going to get a wide receiver number in the 80s, which is great because you don't really see that anymore, especially rookies.
Yeah, it's more like when you go to they're probably they're gonna put CD Lamb definitely in the 88 club for sure.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, because no one wears that number over there, and Dez wore it, and Irving wore it. So
81, give him Dio's old number.
Yeah. Okay. Let me see. What else do we got? I like this when we come to this portion of the show. I like just kind of shooting the shit as far as fantasy, right?
Yeah, we're kind of shooting the shit. We finished the end of the.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, Bob. Grade. Oh yeah. Okay. And we kind of. You know what's funny is
that up.
I kind of want to shit on Bob, but then at the same time too, he kind of earned my respect. Like when you're going through his picks, like it's not, you know what I mean? Like I really questioned the pick last year, your guys' first pick in the draft.
Yeah.
With that lineman, I was like, there was other better guys available, in my opinion. But
Andre Dillard was a guy that everybody wanted. That the Eagles, I think, ended up trading up for and grabbing.
Yeah, and see,
an in-your-face kind of move.
And
I'm lying.
The Eagles know how to address the trenches on both sides, so it's like, you know what I mean? Like, come on, I was like, damn, because you're looking at Watson and him, only being a year removed off the ACL and et cetera. It's like, come on, They need better scouts. I don't know. I mean, I started questioning Bob too much.
Let me tell you a little bit about Titus Howard. I was really surprised last year because I was watching the draft, very
intently.
Knowing that they needed offensive line help and seeing who they were going to get. Because I figured there'd be a name like Dillard or somebody else. At the time, I can't remember. I had some other names. They went to other teams, but they were there, and these guys essentially, in the eyes of everybody else, reached for a player that Bill O'Brien had coached at the Senior Bowl, had seen. This kid was a quarterback at one point when he entered, I believe, either late high school or college, and then he moved to tight end, and then eventually moved to the offensive line, and it became like this sensation and made the Senior Bowl, and then Bill O'Brien got the chance to meet him, and then I saw him pancake block some of the better defensive ends in the country during one of the practices, and so it really caught his eye. And then they drafted him, and everybody's like, who the hell is this dude? And then he shows out. He comes in as a rookie, and he posts, I think, top 3 rookie pass blocking grades and top 5 rookie run blocking grades. I'm sorry. So he was in the top 5 in both categories in his rookie season until he had a slight meniscus. It wasn't like a full it was like a strained injury late in the season, which held him out for the last quarter of the season. And then Max Sharping was another pick that they got, I think, in the either late second or third round with the following pick. And he was also performing well as a rookie, not quite as well as Titus Howard, but doing very well until he got injured. So now both of these guys will be coming back next year, and they were both surprise picks. Everybody was like they could have gone another direction, but yet they still worked out, and they worked out better than guys like Martinez Franken, who they had also drafted a couple of seasons prior. So they ended up trading to the Kansas City Chiefs. Carlos Hyde became a 1,000-yard rusher for the first time in his career behind a crappy offensive line in Houston last year. So it's all weird, but it ended up working out for Bill O'Brien. It's so weird, but if you look at it, you really look at it as a huge picture, and you see all the stupid zigs when they should have zagged. at the end of the day, and it's crazy, after all the headache, they still kind of break even, which is the sad thing. We want the team to take the next step, and for some reason they still end up, losing in the first round or losing in the second round of the playoffs and not getting to the championship game. So it's tough.
Man, it is tough. And it's crazy too. Earlier that you did mention, like, when your early days of writing, you were even thinking about being a lawyer. And in this sense, it's like with Bob, you almost could, like, if you were a lawyer, like the Peacock lawyer, the Peacock firm, right? If you were representing Bob, you know what I'm saying, that you could defend him, or you could even be on the other side and prosecute him, where it's like, because you see the good, the bad, and the ugly with him. But I think for the most part, even after talking thoroughly with you, and you know what I'm saying, and being able to add my little 2 cents, I think there's more good than bad if we were to put things on a scale when we look at Bob, because he is a winning coach. You know what I mean? He's probably one of the most winningest, for real, out of the guys who came from that Belichick family tree or coaching tree. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I haven't looked at those exact numbers, but
I don't know the exact numbers, but definitely in recent history. You know what I mean? Like, I can't even think of one Belichick disciple that's even got their team to the playoffs. Mind you, I'm having a great glass of wine right now, but what I'm saying, I'm only using that as an excuse because what I'm saying, I like to. I'm more of a guy, like, I have like a memory like an elephant, even though I love the Google machine. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm just, I'm usually thinking on the fly, you know what I mean? Where I'm like, I can honestly only remember Bill O'Brien right now being one of the only coaches to go ahead and get his teams into the playoffs, like life after Belichick.
And I don't know, and that's true. And I don't know.
I mean, yes, Josh McDaniels did something impressive with Tim Tebow when he was with Denver, and he did get them into the playoffs, and they beat the Steelers, and then you got to the divisional, and yes, I but aside from that, someone who's a repeat offender in this case, like Bill O'Brien, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and so I think that the criticism on Bill O'Brien has been mainly because of his role moving up into the organization, and then his role influencing
and the way he treats his personnel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It resonates with the fans in a bad way. You know what I mean? Like, you want to resonate with your fans, in some kind of positive light. But yeah, so yeah, and I mean, we are living in a day and age too where, like, you fuck up one time, they could cancel you. You get what I'm saying? Like, we're living in cancel culture where it's like, you could have done so many great things, but then something could come up, and then you just tarnish your whole shit. So in this case, man.
I feel like the fans in Houston are never satisfied, honestly. I like I said, I write a lot of articles and I post them and I share them to Facebook fan group pages and stuff like that, just to kind of see if I can gauge reactions.
Yeah.
And one day they're all pissed off at Bill O'Brien and everybody wants him fired and wants his head. So then I give the Texans a shitty draft grade and I post it out there, and everybody's like, "Hey, it wasn't that bad." And you got to look at the fact that them not having draft picks shouldn't hurt them, because we have skills now. So they're not giving Bill O'Brien credit for those things that he's already done.
Well, they want to give him. If you're giving away the picks, that you got to kind of throw those names in there with your draft haul in that case, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. So. Yeah, I guess as a whole, it's not that bad.
Yeah, if you want to look at it that way, but and that's fine, and I'll play both sides of it. You know what I mean? Like, I can come down on Bill O'Brien in one article, and then I can defend him in another, and it just depends on the style or the way that the content's coming out and what I want to present to the reader as far as what I'm trying to convey. Like, hey, Brandon Cooks could have an awesome year. Look at all these other things, and here's why. Because he's moving on from Goff, who is not a really deep deep ball passer.
Yeah, he's got some more shorter A dot. You know what I mean? And it's more. Yeah.
Especially last year compared to the way Watson has been his entire career. So you're moving from last year a bottom 10 deep ball passer over 20 yards to a top 5 over 20 yards passer. So there's a difference. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, you did mention like Watson being maybe erratic with the number of times he throws the ball. You also got to remember that he does like to run the ball quite a bit. He can do that with his leg, and he likes to do it near the goal line as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's also the caveat if I was to, maybe not a caveat, but that's also the knock, I should say, like on DJ or even just running backs in general, is that when he gets down there, you know what I mean, he might call his own number, you know what I mean? And he's great at it, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I also feel that he's done that little move where, hey, it looks like I'm running, and then he tosses a touchdown to
I love that.
Johnson or
the 42
fakie.
Fakey. I love that.
He'll get kicked in the eye and do a spin-a-rooney and then throw a touchdown pass.
Bro, he's a winner, dog. Okay,
yeah, I like to
check this out.
The Houston, I termed this. I like to call him the Houston Houdini. And I did that in the article a while back. I don't know if it really caught on, but everybody calls him a magician. I know on my Instagram.
Yeah, the Houston Houdini. I love it because, see, that's what makes you a great writer. It's the alliterations that really make it. You know what I mean? The Houston Houdini.
I read a lot of boring British and American literature and world literature, don't get me wrong. Yeah, especially that being one of my majors.
You mean classics? And it's funny because...
I took a women's literature class to try to meet chicks back in the day, and I took it twice because it worked.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's where you're going to meet... It's funny because people might think, oh, that's some goddamn nerd chicks, bookworms. Those are the freakiest ones. They haven't even got action yet. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Playmakers, duly note that. Okay, check this out. Bro, so this was, I used to call, okay, here's my, Bogard always has some ignorant shit, right? But this one's great. So all year last year with Deshaun Watson, I used to say, Black Jesus loves him, right? Because...
You used to say what?
Black Jesus loves him, right? And because when he would look down the field, right? When he's looking down the field and he's checking his reads, perpetual light from the heavens will shine down upon his target. And he'd be like, oh, there he is. Bing, right? Or like when that motherfucker kicked him in the eye, right? Like you just said, he went blind. And then Black Jesus said, he just gave him sight. Right then and there, and then the sight that he was blessed with, he regained his vision, right? And then he seen the perpetual light shining down upon his target, and then he bombed one to the heavens. I'm telling you, Black Jesus loves him.
That's easy to do. That's easy to do when your target is 6'7". Darren Fells is a sneaky old basketball type tight end. And when
Fells was getting off nasty, dude. I mean, for a tight end, he was having, for a tight end, you get a touchdown. You're basically a tight end one for the week. But like,
dude,
you had in a couple receptions a game. I think he was at he was averaging like 5 targets a game. Like, and then a lot of the times they were in the 20. They were like, they were the money targets. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they tried to design those little underneath drag routes like they do with Travis Kelce for him. And get Deshaun kind of doing that, and those plays were working until they caught on later on in the season.
So you might say Fells is one of his disciples. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not gonna lie, but I've seen a that Godwin, like there's a Photoshop and it's like Jesus with his fingers out. It's Godwin's face on there.
Yeah.
His name obviously was. I've seen some with Deshaun on a candle. They're hilarious. Like, he's Jesus. That's great, dude. I want one. I will light it.
I'm telling you, Black Jesus loves him, bro. He's the reincarnate. He's the second coming, right? And check this out. With Chris Godwin, side note, right? I love Chris Godwin as a player, but like whenever people would be like, I remember, because now everyone's on Chris Godwin. But the last 3 seasons, he was on my radar, especially last season. I had him in I had almost 100% ownership, right? Except for
and you both, man. I had him everywhere just about.
And bro, so people would ask me because
Oh wait, before you move on, I'm gonna put this down. It's Calvin Ridley is this year's Chris Godwin. I'm just saying right now.
Ooh, I love that. No, I love that, bro. He's a hell of a route runner, like. Because he's another one of those smaller guys too, but where it's like you got to depend on your route running skills, so you don't take these hits and you get in these working these small, tighter areas. And for being the size he is, no, I love that call because I love me
great route runners and great hands. Give me both of those. I like those.
Yeah. Okay. I've duly noted that. But so back to Chris Godwin, right? People would be like, so why are you so big on Chris Godwin? And then like. I wouldn't really want to explain it too much, especially if it's people like in a league with me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But then I just be like, because he has God and win in his name. Enough said. You know what I'm saying?
Enough said. Exactly.
Enough said.
No more.
Okay, I have a question. And then we'll close this thing out because this one's one I want to continue to ask everyone. So, what fantasy players off the top of your head, like that aren't rookies, right? What fantasy players that aren't rookies do you think are losing value because of whatever rookies that are coming in?
Okay, losing value. So right away, unfortunately, and these are guys that are going to affect me because I have them in a couple of dynasty leagues. So right away, Kerryon Johnson. And mostly, I'm gonna attack the running backs here because obviously we're in this time frame, or we're in this new era where running backs aren't important. We're going to keep them for their rookie deals, and then we're going to let them go.
Yeah.
And then maybe they'll have a resurgence somewhere else, and you want to take a chance on the veteran later.
Even your division rival as well. The return of the Mac. Maybe he's not returning.
maybe, or maybe it's a timeshare.
Yeah, because that's right, because Taylor's over there. Jonathan Taylor Thomas, the tool man's son himself.
I don't think so, Tim.
Hey, for all you young playmakers out there, just look it up.
Yeah, look that shit.
Look it up. Home Improvement.
It
was great.
It's great.
It was great.
Great show. Yeah, but they don't make shows the way they used to, honestly.
Oh, nah, they don't.
We can save that. You can save that for another podcast.
Yeah, for sure. No, okay. So what else? Who else you think? Well, I got one. Okay.
Well, I know you said right now. You said Marlon Mack. I was going to go with a couple of other running backs real quick.
Okay, do your thing.
Aaron Jones of the Packers. They took the second round guy.
He's like a bruiser. So he's going to be a goal line guy even.
Yeah, definitely that. He's a bruiser, goal line back. Aaron Jones isn't that type. So if anybody gets phased out, it's going to be Williams, the other back there, Jamal, who I love. He's like off the wall. I love his interviews. He's so crazy. He's like frozen. And I don't like fucking, I don't know what. Anyway, great interviews, dude. Like drug test that guy though, just in case. They don't do that anymore, right? They don't test for dope for weed now, but which is super cool. Thank you, NFL.
I know, right? We've been throwing that in the suggestion box for a minute. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, no shit. Free Josh Gordon. He's on my dynasty team, so free Josh Gordon.
Yeah. You still holding on to him? You're a loyalist. I love that.
Yeah, hey, you got to have one of those guys that you always do. I feel like the guys that have held on to Gronk for a year and a half or whatever, doing smart. So that's cool.
Real quick, Josh Gordon was one of those guys that I had a ton of last year because I was getting him in the 10th, 11th round. And then he just became one of those guys. He became one of those guys. I was just throwing him in every trade package. Hey, I'll throw in Josh Gordon too. It was just and I couldn't move him.
And that's the way you do it, though. That's a smart way to play the game. And that's what fantasy is all about, and it's fun that way. And I feel like that's the way freaking Bill O'Brien plays real football. Hey, I got Deandre Hopkins.
Hey, oh my God. Is Boomer Bust Bob himself? Is he just playing one crazy dynasty league right now? He's just the Houston Texans are his actual dynasty team that he owns? Oh, that's it's possible. You know what I'm saying?
That's why people are hitting him up. They're messaging him on Slack or GroupMe or whatever. They're like, hey bro, what can I get for Deandre? You bored?
It's his little nephew that he has in his league. His nephew's yo, hey, Uncle Bob. You know what I'm saying? I want Deandre Hopkins for my Kyler Murray. You know what I'm saying? Oh yeah, what are you gonna give me? You know what I mean?
I'll give you David Johnson.
He's like, really? Really? Send me the offer. How it goes. Send the proposal.
Running backs are more important than just one QB league.
Yeah, I know, right? Oh shit. Okay, so what other running backs do you got
The other one I have, unfortunately, is Mark Ingram, only because he's getting older. He's on his way out.
Oh yeah, just kidding. Dobbins is over there.
Yeah, and he's going to be a hot commodity. So in a startup that I'm doing this year, I have the 105 and I have Mark Ingram. I also have the 107 and 110, and I also have the Ariel Foster. So look for me to draft both of those guys within my first 3 picks.
Package Aaron Jones and Mark Ingram, and move those guys for like try to get like a Clyde Edwards-Helaire or something.
I could do that, but what I'm going to probably try to do is keep both of those, draft their rookies. Cause
you haven't had the rookie draft yet. You're right. You did say
we haven't had it yet.
Yeah, you're good. So and you have the 1-5.
Yeah, I have the 1-5, I have the 1-7, and the 1-10. So I think I can land,
Bro, you might be able to get all 3 of the homies. You might be able to get Helaire, like the Fresh Prince of Helaire, right?
It's a 2 QB dynasty.
Oh, okay.
So it just depends. Like some QBs might go. I might be able to get them. I might not be able to. We'll see what happens. But I think I'm going to get good value regardless. Yeah. So hopefully I'll get one of those guys. I'm thinking it's going to be Dylan probably for Aaron Jones because that's what I'm more scared of. I think that it's going to be hard for Dobbins to wrestle away.
Well, I've seen what's his name? Matt LaFleur. He's kind of a dickhead. I've seen him do this even back when he was with Tennessee, where it's like he'll have Dion Lewis between the 20s and then bring in, Derrick Henry when they get into the red.
Yeah.
And like we kind of seen him doing the same thing with Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams, where it's like if they're in hurry up, they put Jamal Williams out there, or if they're, you know what I mean.
And Dylan is a comp. He's really a Derrick Henry comp if you think about it.
Like, yeah, for sure. Size wise, but what do you know? I mean, pause real quick. But this is gonna be a big pause moment. But do you know his measurables, like his arm wise? Because that's one thing about Derrick Henry. He legit has 33-inch arms. Where that's why his goddamn stiff arm is so nasty. You know what I mean?
Oh, dude, that game against the Jaguars, not this past season, but 2
years
ago.
That Thursday nighter. Dude, that propelled me deep into the playoffs. That game right there,
dude,
40 burger on a Thursday night. It was like my opponent's already dead. You know what I mean?
Dude, I had the first coldest take that night. I was like, oh, Jaguars versus Titans on Thursday night. Like, I'm gonna stay up for this 7-6 barn burner or whatever. Like, just for that game. And then this guy blows like 200 plus rushing yards and like 4 touchdowns.
He had like 2 60-yard plus runs, and then even like on his 4th touchdown, he was on the bench, and they were screaming his name, and he was shaking his head like smiling, and then the coach was like, "Get your ass in there," because he was like, "Nah, it's cool." Like he was almost like he was too on fire, and then he went in there and scored the touchdown. Because remember they tried to pound it in with Lewis for one down, and it was like 2nd down. They're like, get back out there, Henry. Like, what are we doing here? And that was the LaFleur year. That was the one LaFleur OC year.
He ate the Jaguars lunch. He stiff-armed Miles Jacket to like another zip code. It was a crazy game. They had the crazy color rush uniforms on. Just for a note.
Just to add the for the pizzazz.
Yeah, this is what happens on Thursday nights, though. It's either like a boring-ass, 0-point fantasy production type game from everybody, or it blows up and it's lopsided for one team. Like, those are the only ways it's going to go. I hate putting players in on Thursday nights, and make sure that you always move those people out of your flex spot and into the starting rules if you're doing that on Thursdays.
I got another one. Flexibility. I got one. Speaking of running backs, right? Damian Williams. For anybody who's a Damian Williams truther, and I will admit, I was for a time or two, but now with the Clyde, the Fresh Prince of Helaire, or over there, you know what I mean? You know what sucks? I don't know if I made that up or if I heard it somewhere, because it's like I've been drinking so much the past during the draft. Because I love that's one of my favorite things to do is make up these nicknames. You know what I mean? Where it's like, like come on, I call Deshaun Jackson the second coming. I call he's Black Jesus. You know what I mean? Like that's ignorant. 100% no one's calling him that but me. And it's like, but like, or like, okay, Robbie Anderson. I called him the Green Bean because he was from the Jets. Yeah, he's skinny. He's hella fast. He's part of a well-balanced diet, right? You know what I'm saying? He's the Green Bean. You know what I'm saying? Like, Bro, I can go on for days. I have the best nicknames.
His arms look like the green bean, actually.
And then you know his AKA is the string bean. You know what I mean? So it's basically the same thing, but you know what I mean? And like my co-host hated it. Like whenever I would like be like, this week, you know what I mean? In DraftKings, I'm telling you. You know what I'm saying? The Robbie Anderson, the green bean, a.k.a. the string bean.
Bogard, stop. Bogard,
yes, he would be like, come on, dude, you say this all the time. And I remember in particular, it was one game, it was against the Cowboys. I'm like, bro, I'm telling you. I'm like, Byron Jones been getting burned all year so far. I'm telling you, the green bean, bro. And, bro, when he went off, it was really like three catches that game or 4 catches, but it was like 2 of them were like big ones. One was like a 76-yarder to the house. And I just remember like, it was like 70-something yards at least. But I remember calling my boy and he's just ignoring it. You know what I mean? I'm just calling him and he's just ignoring it.
That weekend, dude.
And I'm texting and I'm like, not the green bean. I told you. I'm like, I hope you put him in your DraftKings lineups. I'm like, motherfucker, I told you. No, but, okay, I have one, speaking of Cowboys.
I remember that game like it was yesterday, bro. I remember that Jets beating the Cowboys because I was at a bar with my buddies and we were watching the end.
And they're all Cowboys?
Yeah, we were watching the end of the Texans beating the Chiefs, and then we stayed for, to watch the Cowboys. And then as soon as that Robbie Anderson
that's a hell of a day for you right there.
Yeah. As soon as the Robbie Anderson touchdown went off, I bought all my Cowboys friends shots at the bar, and then I left.
Nice! Like, hey, the Peacock has left the building. Left them alone. Hey, you know what though? You did. That's one hell of a deed right there. You're like, all right, fellas, I've been there, but in this case today, I'm not there.
Not today.
Yes.
Yeah, not today.
Yeah.
Yeah, they like to give me shit because the Texans don't have any trophies, but I like to tell them that since the Texans have become a team that neither of them have any Super Bowl trophies, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's been over a quarter. I think what. They're approaching a quarter century now, the Cowboys.
A quarter century for the Cowboys, and the Texans have been a team for 18 years. So
yeah, and the Texans. Okay, how about this? The Texans have been in the playoffs more times in the past 18 years than the Cowboys. Maybe that you might. I might want to look that one up. But damn.
No, they have. It's true.
See? Oh. So in the Texans' existence, they've been better than the Cowboys, if you look at it like that.
They have. On a consistency type basis, yeah. There's been a couple of years for both organizations where, like I said, Deshaun Watson messed up his knee and they went like 4-12, and then the Cowboys didn't have an excuse. I know I'm lying. Romo got hurt with his back, I think, and they went 4-12.
They got into the dance.
They drafted Zeke.
Twice.
Yeah, they drafted Zeke the following year, and then they got lucky with Dak.
Yeah, I want to say, that's right, because the Dez no catch game, I was reaching for the goal line. Yeah, okay, so they got to the playoffs that year. There's definitely when Romo, what did he fumble it? Am I remember that correctly? When he fumbled
that was
the
like
snap.
06 or 08 or
I think it was like 09. It was like 09 or something.
08 or 09. That was Romo's like first year. I remember those days.
So that's two
I like
times.
Romo. Don't get me wrong.
No, I love Tony Romo. The dimple. That's what I called him. The dimple. You know what I'm saying?
The dimple.
The dimple.
Yeah, I bought it. He looks like what's that guy? That actor? Paul. Man, the Ant-Man.
Oh my God. Yeah, Paul Rudd. He does look like. He looks like He looks like
Romo a little bit.
Yeah, he kind of does. Hey, I ain't gonna lie. He got something there.
He should play Romo in a movie.
That's funny.
Ryan Gosling should play Jared Goff.
Yeah, he really does look like him though. That one's uncanny. Oh, okay. This one's kind of ignorant.
We were talking about rookies or
okay. So while we were speaking on the Cowboys, right? I think, because, man, I was beating the Michael Gallup drum so tough. And I'm like, dude,
I think we all were.
Yeah. And
we all could be.
Because we didn't, come on, that's such a non-Jerry Jones move, to go get another receiver. But I guess, it makes sense because they can move on from Cooper next year and not take a hit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Definitely what I would do. I think Cooper would be the receiver to be on his way out. So I don't think Gallup takes a massive hit. I think that you're still kind of okay. I think if you take a chance,
and
Cooper.
Also with Mike McCarthy, with Mike McCarthy, it's like, we've seen him have 3 wide receiver sets where, you had 2 guys finish in the top 24 and then 1 guy finish, in the top 40. You know what I'm saying? Where, like, Cobb, Adams.
It's weird that they don't have Cobb out and they're on McCarthy's there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I
know, right? Isn't that odd?
Yeah.
Like you
would have been a good fit.
And I think
then they wouldn't have drafted CD if you think about it now.
I'm joking.
They still have Cobb. If they still had Cobb, you think they would have drafted CD?
Nah. I mean, Cobb. Here's the thing too. Cobb was just a 1-year deal, and I think Cobb's agent might have been like, look, he got almost 1,000 yards, you know what I mean? And just was trying to demand something, you know what I mean? Where it was like...
And then Bill O'Brien's like, here, have all the money.
Yeah, hey, bro, I'm down the street. I'm over here. I got this big old bag. I have you on my dynasty league.
I just got rid of Hopkins. I have this big old bag.
For real. Hey, it's almost like to spite Hopkins on, like, see, Hopkins... You know what I'm saying? This is what your baby mamas did. You know what I'm saying? Like,
all that stuff's just extra, just like excuse.
Yeah. Oh, it's
like I said, I think it was just for him to have freedom to do what he wants with the team, and if he signed Hopkins, he wouldn't have that freedom.
Okay, so what were you guys last year? 10-6?
10-6.
10-6. Okay, so
they had the 4th toughest schedule in the NFL.
Oh no doubt. You know what I mean?
They beat teams they beat the Patriots, they beat the Chiefs in the regular season. They only had 2 bad losses. All the other losses were less than 7 points. And the 2 bad losses were Baltimore in the regular season and Kansas City in the final game in the divisional round.
Yeah, when they were smacking for the first quarter, like damn near 24.
Oh, they were up 24-0. That's why
you know what? I can feel your pain on this. I can feel your pain on this because, man, I was also a victim in the big show. Of the goddamn Chiefs coming back from double-digit deficits, and it's like, damn, fucking Mahomes.
They did it to everybody.
Yeah,
I just feel like
that does make me feel better, though. It makes me feel a little better.
Yeah, it does to me too. I was like, hey, we lost the Super Bowl champs, and then not only did we have a lead and blow it, it happened to the 2 other teams they played after that too, the Titans and the 49ers.
I mean, there is such a thing as destiny, man. I believe in it. And, when you look at the adversity as far as even, losing their quarterback at one point in the season, those are all things they would say on the sideline. We almost didn't get here. My kneecap popped out. And, you know what I mean? I could just, I could only imagine, everything just fueled them. And,
you think about it, too. It was all fuel, motivation for them as well.
We're going to do this for Andy. And he ain't never ate a cheeseburger as a Super Bowl champ. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
He loves his cheeseburgers. You know what I mean?
Dude, he reminds me of a walrus so much.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. Hey, okay. You know what's funny? Are you familiar with how Brian Hoyer looks?
Yes.
So Brian Hoyer.
I'm very familiar with Brian Hoyer.
Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. So if Brian Hoyer, to me, he looks like Mr. Gru from Despicable Me. I'm telling you.
A skinny version.
Yes. And with hair. Shave his head bald. He looks like Mr. Gru. I'm telling you.
Well, he doesn't really have hair.
Yeah, that's true.
The last couple of times.
And, put some darkness around his eyes. You know what I mean? Boom. He could play it for Halloween for sure. You know what I mean?
Give him a scarf.
Yeah. Okay. So 10-6. If I was to set the under over at 10-6, what realistically, how are you viewing your 2020 outlook for your Texans?
Well, the popular thing amongst Texans fans to say is 9-7, another 9-7 year, and sneak in.
Hey, because that could be enough though, with the 7th seed, the addition of the 7th seed.
Yeah, that's true. It could be 10-7 or something. But
9-7 though, you know what I mean?
Yeah, the fans are always upset. Like I said, they're never happy with Bill O'Brien. He could go 12-4 and lose in the first round of the playoffs, and they'd be like, "See, did it again. Didn't matter that we lost 4 games, right?" or they could sneak in and he could go to the division. He could go to the AFC title game and get there for the first time, and they'll still shut out him for going 8 and whatever they're 8-8 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
To get into the playoffs. So the fans are never satisfied. But if you're going to give me the over/under, I'll take the winning season. Obviously, they're not going to go 8-8, and they never do. They're either going to, 9-7 at worst is the Texans at their worst, honestly. And
yeah, I think that's a solid floor for them. 9-7.
Yeah, and now that they have Deshaun Watson, who's not in a crazy rookie year where he had to take over halfway or something like that, or lose last second games to Seattle or New England or whatever like that. I think now he's at that point where he's winning those tough games.
Yeah.
So I think that the over/under on a 10-6, I would take the over. I think that the Texans, when they're playing their best football, are an easily 11-win type of team. They can do that year in and year out. In my view, especially when Deshaun's on, he finds his nature. He's in a group. If he's slow to start a game, or the Texans can't run the ball, they have to put it all on his shoulders, and he's just standing back there taking hits, that's when they get into trouble. But I think that he has so much talent that he can carry a team on his own to 10 wins, no problem. So I would take an over on that. And I've seen the opponents that they're going to have. It's always tough, but the schedule seems a little more favorable this year than it usually does. So
I think too also with if you look within the division, there's you obviously have some kind of a makeover in Jacksonville. There's another makeover in Indy with with the addition of Rivers, and and they're kind of bolstering their run game, and then you have the Tennessee Titans, who they kind of might be a one-trick pony. And if you just stop the run, because once they figured out, okay, we just need to always run Derrick Henry, and then the play action became predicate. But if you could just stop the run, I think they can be fairly one-dimensional. You know what I mean? Where
that's true.
And where it's
AJ Brown might not be that guy.
Yeah, I mean,
or Tannehill might not be that guy.
And you know what's crazy too is it's the intangibles in Tannehill where it's I'm trying to get this bag. And he played his ass off, and I'm hoping, what I'm saying, just
now he has it.
Yeah, what I'm saying, because now he has it, what I'm saying, and obviously, even if you look at the minds of your division coaches, Vrabel's a defensive minded guy, Frank Reich is an offensive minded guru, you know what I mean, and then you have Marone, who was a former lineman in his time, where it's he's just predicated on running the ball, but it's you bring in Jay Gruden, who's predicated on throwing the ball a ton, and they
have young Gardner Minshew, but then they have Chark, and they also drafted LaVisca and Colin Johnson from the Texans.
Yep. Oh, and they filled the whole the Jacksonville Jaguars defense might be nasty though. They filled a lot of holes.
I just released an entire AFC South draft grade on Rumboys today. It's out there.
Nice. I gotta check it out.
In the captain's.
Yep, and that's Playmakers. That's Rumboys, RUMBOYZ.com. You know what I'm saying? Correct. You gotta check out the Peacock's articles. Go on.
Yeah, so I gave each team draft grades. I gave each player a draft grade. I didn't do that with the Texans, so I even went more in depth with the rest of the division. And,
you gotta know the enemies, right? You gotta know the enemies.
And to be fair, everybody got a better draft grade than the Texans did, just because they didn't have draft capital. And that was really what hurt them.
See, that's what makes you a great writer. You're calling a spade a spade. You're not gonna be like the Texans. I'm a Texans fan, and Texans, Bob. You know what I mean?
A plus.
S+, even.
You win the division already. No, I don't do that. So.
I can't stand fans like that.
Yeah, I gave the Colts the best draft grade. Obviously, they got JT out of Wisconsin as a running back there.
Yeah,
which is going to be crazy.
The aforementioned Jonathan Taylor Thomas himself. You know what I'm saying? The Tool Man's son. That's what I'm calling him. See, I'm calling him the Tool Man's son.
crazy 1-2 punch for them there, right? They brought in Phillip Rivers. They still have T.Y. Hilton. The defense has been fairly solid. Well, they brought in some guys on the defensive line in the offseason. Plus, they drafted Michael Pittman Jr. To be the other guy on the other side. So the Colts look kind of scary on offense, especially going into next season, even with, the aging Phillip Rivers. And we already talked about the Jaguars. They made some defensive picks as well. And then the Titans, they got Christian Fulton out of LSU, who dropped in the draft because he dropped all the way to the late in the second round, pick number 61, because he had a dirty urine sample.
Yeah, I was going to say, I remember you and shout out to Jay Love, but you and Jay Love, you guys had high grades on that kid, right?
Yeah, definitely. We were so surprised that he was still there, as well as I believe Weaver out of Boise State was still on the board, who I thought the Texans should have probably taken at some point, but didn't pull the trigger on him with an offensive lineman and trading back up and down and stuff. So that's why I personally kind of graded them a little off on that and gave them a lower grade. But
have you ever thought? I have a random thought. Have you ever thought of like you said, you would post your articles on certain forums and different Facebook group fan groups or whatnot. Dude, have you ever thought of just sending your scout reports to the Texans themselves? Like fuck it, maybe I might be able to work with these guys.
I've actually never thought about that. I don't know if anybody would even entertain it, but
fuck it. What
now,
I mean, you're already throwing suggestions in the suggestion box for years, and then you know what I'm saying. And then the Roughnecks became a thing. You never know, Miles.
Yeah, well, I'm friends with some of the reporters and writers for the team already. Patrick Storm are two of my favorite follows that do.
So you might need to change your name to Patrick, or is that the same guy?
Patrick Peacock.
Yeah, Patrick Peacock. No, it's Patrick Starr and then Patrick. Are those two different guys?
Patrick Starr and Patrick Storm are actually two different guys.
Oh shit! See, there you go, Patrick Peacock.
And they provide text content. I follow them. One writes for Sports Illustrated and for the team's website really close, and then the other one.
I mean, why not? You got nothing to lose. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No. Exactly. I mean, well, that's why I keep putting it out there now and let the content kind of speak for itself, and then if people like what they read, hopefully share it. Maybe one day, either get contacted or I can, put the feelers out there. But for right now, I'm just in the part-time because, I know, like I know that, we have families and other things that we do here. We just talk fantasy and in the midst of the people.
And I do love that, I think it's I'm about to go on 10 weeks now where I'm proud to be not only under the umbrella of the Rum Boys, but a part of you guys, you know what I mean? And
yeah.
And I mean, you know what? I love the team that we have assembled here. Or I was even telling Robbie in that interview where where he was, going through the who's who in the Rum Boys and telling me how he essentially built the team and even discovering me, because I do a lot of collabs like we're doing right now, and but he's the one guy that reached out to me, was bro, I checked your shit out, and I think my audience would appreciate your content, you know what I mean? And I was like, this is a hell of a guy right here. Going back to what we said earlier about how in this industry it's you know what I mean? It's I've never encountered that in other industries, you know what I mean? When I worked in media for in the hip hop industry, or even just in my time as an artist, where even to this day, it's so hard to get followers on my social media platforms for my music, because artists are so egotistical they don't even want to follow you back, or you know what I mean? I don't know.
No, I know exactly what you mean. It's that crabs in the bucket.
Yeah.
Somebody's trying to get out, and everybody else is going to pull you back in because they want to get out, or whatever it is.
But see, I feel with the Rum Boys. I feel with the Rum Boys, we're just having a big old crab boil even. You know what I mean? We just got we're at a table. We're at a table. We got the parchment paper laid out, and we're all just grubbing on, crawdads and fucking crabs and yeah. Oh yeah. You're from Houston, or you're from Texas,
potatoes.
Bro.
Yeah, some corn and some potatoes.
Oh yeah. Hey, those little bastards
So,
are some
for sure.
work. There's some work, but they're just suck the brains too. Delicious.
They are so much. They are so much work. I actually had some a couple of days ago. I think on Sunday.
Yeah, bro.
A friend of my wife's was like, "We have so much left over. Can you come pick it up and we'll just have it ready for you guys to pick up? Be safe with all the
So like,
stuff." So I was like, cool.
oddly enough, right? Oddly enough,
Yeah.
where I'm from, or not oddly enough, but where I'm from, we have like a large Vietnamese community. So now, oddly enough, they all like it's popular that we have a lot of restaurants that are boils. You know what I mean? Like we have boiling crab, kicking crab. We have all these different restaurants that, we go there. It's a full bar. You got your table. You got your part. You're with your party, and everyone's just grubbing down, drinking, and what I'm saying, that's just is how you rock. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
then,
I got an LA crawfish place like literally walking distance from my house. So I'll go over there.
But see, I've been to Texas, but like only the airports, right? But like, right? But the one time I actually went exploring through Houston is like I was there on business, and like Houston had a large Vietnamese.
Great.
They had a large Vietnamese community as well, so it made me feel like I was kind of at home.
do.
And like, bro, we were hitting boils, we were doing, you know what I mean? Like it was the shit, you know what I mean? Like, and and obviously, you know what I'm saying? Like I said,
Houston's a huge hodgepodge, a big mixture of culture and community, definitely music and hip hop and rap and stuff like that.
Bro, it's Austin just like where I'm from, bro. Like I'm from San Jose. It's like this, and I know Houston got a lot of tech companies there now too, and Austin too.
It's
but
huge.
Yeah, Austin's like on the rise right now.
It's such a big place. Houston, I have family that lives in Conroe, which is just a little bit north. Shout out to my cousin Roy Dale. Check him out, dude. He's a rapper. I'll share a link with you. He has a lot of music. I was really surprised.
You were telling me about this. Yeah, I need to check him out.
Yeah, he's like a thing. I was like, what the hell? But I went to his wedding a couple of weeks back before the whole Corona thing broke down or whatever. So shout out to him and his beautiful wife. Houston's crazy. It's awesome. Oh, and then I have my sister-in-law, which is my wife's sister. She lives in Pearland, which is South Houston. So I'm all over Houston, up and down. From the north all the way to the south. So I love it.
Is that closer to where you're at though? Because is Houston more south, like as far as Texas goes?
Houston is actually about 5.5 hours north of where I'm at. I'm all the way down at the bottom of Texas. So, like I said, I'll take about a 5.5 hour drive down south and go almost to the border of Mexico, and that's where you'll find me. I have the best Mexican food, tacos, margaritas, beaches, and Latinas around me.
Do they?
Especially my wife, obviously.
Okay, let me ask you something. Are fish tacos, like the fish tacos are like my favorite thing to do. Like when I'm in LA or San Diego, it's like the fish tacos are just, they're mooey.
Yeah, we do like, I like to do ceviche, which is,
I love ceviche.
We do it that way, but fish tacos are pretty popular around here too.
Oh, okay. So it's not okay. So see now,
you can do that, but mostly, you can do that. You can do shrimp tacos, which is sorry, I'm already having.
No, all good. Trust me.
Those are pretty dope. But usually, like if you go to like a street vendor or a taco stand, you're just going to get your beefsteak or whatever regular or chicken or whatever meat that you're going to get. But it's usually the steak
the carne.
Steak the carne or carne asada, or sometimes you can get carnitas, which is like pork.
I fuck with Brasola.
So there's a lot of different stuff you can do. I'm not gonna lie. I miss it because obviously those places aren't open right now. But there's a few taco places around that we know that people actually own. They're like friends of the family that are doing either deliveries or curbside. So we go hit those up, and we do that like at least once a week. And tacos are life, bro.
Yeah, no, these are riveting questions I gotta ask because saying one day I'm gonna be down there with the Peacock.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and if any time you're down here, you obviously just hit me up. You have my number, and I'll show you around. We'll hit up the beach. We'll go. I don't know. Usually, honestly, all I do is I go to Top Golf and get day drunk and stuff. But anyway,
nice.
You can do that anywhere. I'll show you the town.
Yeah, man. I mean, you know what? Peacock. That's I would have to. I wouldn't be able to not see that place without the Peacock because, you know what I'm saying? That way I know, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's beautiful South tropical Texas, man. Nothing but palm trees and
oh, that's right. And you say you're not far from the beaches and all that shit too?
Yeah, less than an hour. So once you hop in your car, I can get to the beach in an hour. There's lots of fishing and lakes. But pretty much like the things that people like to do around here, like tacos, margaritas, food. It's really like you go out, you have drinks and food kind of vibe in the city. But there's like clubs and bars and things like that. But I'm already past all that vibe. I like live music out on the patio and stuff.
Like I mean, like, you know, even before the apocalypse, you know, if we went out, it would have to be an occasion, like, you know, someone's birthday, and that's what they chose to do is hit a bar or a club. Because, like, really, I'm not a homeowner yet. I'm renting, so it's like I feel like,
oh man,
like why am I gonna go anywhere else? Like I'm like, why would I go anywhere else? I'm paying for this motherfucker. Let's party here. You know what I mean? Like I'm that type of motherfucker. You know what I mean?
Yep, homebody. Yeah, same deal. And I'm actually in the hunt for a house myself.
Oh, that's awesome, Peacock.
Yeah, we already submitted stuff for like the mortgage company, and we're looking at how much we're gonna get.
Yeah, you're going through the process.
Yeah, so we're in that stage right now. Actually, I think tomorrow at 2:00 I'm gonna go look at a house. So that's what I'm doing tomorrow.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, so there's legit two final things because I just thought of this, right? Brandon Cooks.
Right.
Are we looking at Brandon Cooks? Like, is he a value? Like, is he just a WR3 that could pop and have a WR1 finish on weeks, or like?
Yeah, I've seen Brandon Cooks go like 7th round and stuff. So I would take him there because he has definite potential to be the wide receiver one there. His injury history is only concussion based, really. And I wrote an article a few weeks ago where I kind of dove into that, and all his concussions have been grade 1. So that he's not as high of a risk to get another concussion as people might like to think. The only reason that he missed so many games his rookie year with a concussion was because it was his rookie year. The Saints.
Yeah, and he was on the Saints where they had a lot of depth too over there.
Yeah, and he was a high draft capital pick for the Saints, so they wanted to be safe with him. So they even came back and said that one wasn't even a concussion. They were just being extremely cautious. So that one shouldn't have even counted. So then if you look at the other four, all of those, he only had symptoms that lasted, they went away either that same day or the following day. They were already gone. So they were all grade 1. And the last set was the most troubling because it was a grade 1. He came back, and then, yes, he did have another one. And they were both towards the end of the season.
And then I feel like the Rams, they kind of...
They decided to hold him out.
Yeah, because they eventually probably made a decision. They're like, we're gonna trade this guy away somehow. Let's not risk him anymore. You know what I mean? And then even in the Super Bowl against when he's with New England against the Eagles, it was like, that's polarizing in people's memory.
When he almost had that touchdown pass to Jared Goff, waited too long to throw it to him.
Well, no, I'm talking about the year before that when he was with New England.
The Eagles.
Where he got blasted. Where it's like, a hit like that. On that grand of a stage, it kind of gets seared into owners' memories. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
No, that's true.
So, but you know what though? I
think he has potential. Look, if you look at it, he had 4 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons before last year, even with concussions. And the only reason he wasn't viable last year was because it was Jared Goff's worst season. They didn't have a Todd Gurley or a running game like they usually do, and then he had, he's really bad with a deep ball, so they started phasing him out with the 2 tight end sets, and they started using Tyler Higbee more in the offense, and they started setting Cooks aside, so his snap count even reduced for the most in his entire career, other than his rookie year. So, of course, his numbers were going to drop.
Yeah.
So I think he has potential to be, he has wide receiver 1 potential, but it's going to be low wide receiver 1, you know what I'm saying, bottom end.
Yeah.
But people aren't even looking at him like that. So he could fall to the 7th or later, and if he does, I'm taking my shot on him there. If not, I'm waiting for Randall Cobb after Will Fuller and Kenny Stills go. That's just my strategy right now.
Nice. You heard it, Playmakers. That's the Peacock. Speaking from a Texan standpoint too, and not even wearing the Homer hat, and you got to respect that because he's giving us that proper analysis. Okay,
Thank you.
now here's the very last question, for real. Like,
All right.
is Texas really opening back up? Like, what does it look like down there? Because I know, like, Texas is one of those ones where it's like they basically are their own country, and it's like,
Yeah.
are they getting like what's the word down there? Like, how much validity is there to them opening back up?
Yeah, so Texas is almost like its own country. It's like Escape from L.A. back in that.
Oh, Kurt Russell.
Kirk Douglas. Yeah, Kurt Russell.
I remember that movie. That was a good movie.
So when California like seceded because of the fault line, Texas just does that on its own because Oklahoma is just like, I don't know, like a buffer area, I guess, or whatever the hell.
It's a big old dust bowl.
Yeah, so Texas is all on its own, and the word on the street is that things are going to open up again as early as next week. My personal work and everything is still, I've been on a work-safe plan. I haven't been extremely quarantined. I've been going from home to work and working at the office by myself.
Are you full on masks and gloves and shit like that when you're out?
Yeah, I'm not. Okay. I'm not wearing gloves. I'm full on like 1,000 pounds of hand sanitizer when I'm not in the house.
Yeah.
But I do wear my mask. Yeah, when I'm anywhere public or like if somebody comes into my office, I'll put it on. Things like that. I go outside to pump gas, I'll put it on. Minor things like that. But for the most part, everybody around here has been pretty safe. I do feel though, with Texas opening up, I'm going to let everybody be a big idiot for about 2 weeks and then, catch things back up or die or whatever the hell's going to happen.
Yeah, I feel like it's too early. I don't know, maybe because I don't know enough, but like, or maybe
I definitely feel like it's too early, and I'm from Texas, man. So I'm just saying, like, for me, and being from an area where we haven't really gotten affected as much, I think there was less than 100 confirmed cases in the Metroplex that I live in.
Yeah.
So it's not a super high number, but there have been like at least 3 or 4 deaths. And 2 of them were infants early on in the whole deal. So I don't want to contract something, be asymptomatic, and then bring it back home to my family. You know what I'm saying?
You ain't lying. Hey, bro, and that's why, like, I just been playing it safe. Like like I said, like, I run a studio even outside my house, and like, a lot of my peers that also run the studio with me, or I should say, I run it with them. They're back to work. Bringing in clientele, and then I'm like, I'm all my clientele. I'm like, I'm sorry, bro, I'm not working yet. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, whoa, like, I don't know, like, go ahead.
I think if you do go back, it's going to have to be one of those really extreme work-safe type of plans where we're still implementing masks and gloves to, a high level.
Yeah.
Keeping the distance physically from people still, and having screens and all that stuff until even the number continues to drop, and we've kind of, beat that rising curve that we were supposed to. But they say this virus can have a second wave, and we could get it back in the winter. So,
damn.
It's kind of scary. It's kind of scary, but at the same time, I think life does need to go on. I think it's a little early, though. I think we've been quarantined for just almost 40-ish days, maybe, in Texas, which isn't a lot compared to everybody else.
Yeah, I was about to say, we definitely have like an extra 20 days on you guys. Like we're about like an extra 30 days on you guys. Like we're like around 50 to what is it? 3 months. We're almost like 90 days in over here in Cali.
Yeah, see, we didn't get anything going until.
Oh my God, we are 90 days in. Oh, well, February only has 28 days. Either way, yeah, it's been a while. I don't even know what date it is. How about that? My beard's banging. I miss my barber. I know you're listening to this. God damn it. Fucking, it's crazy.
Yeah, it is. No, I sincerely think that it might be a little too soon, but we're gonna play it safe here where we're at, and just wait it out a little bit longer until things kind of start to come down. But there's no need for me to be like going to like movie theaters or eating inside restaurants right now.
Yeah.
So I'll just keep
no
moving the way
unnecessary risks.
We get back to normal.
Yeah. Okay. Well, see, you hear that, Playmakers? It's all about staying safe still. You know what I mean? Like, especially if you got young ones, or especially if you live with elderly, these same rules still apply. I mean, like, I know everyone's like, even where I'm from, people are going to the beach because the weather started getting good, and it's like, listen, I know everyone was cooped up for this amount of time, especially where I'm at, about 90 days. But it's like, man, you know, for like more years of this, imagine years of this. Like, let's try to contain this within 2020. And selfishly, not, you know, first of all, importantly, to preserve life, and selfishly, so we can get football, god damn it. You know?
Most definitely.
You know what I'm saying? I had to preface that correctly. Importantly, to preserve life, but selfishly, so we can get this good old foosball. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I'm glad you did that. I mean, first things first, you had priorities listed in the proper order there. So
I mean, bro, like even like going on live with you guys, I'd ask my girl, I'd be like, do I look crazy? Because my beard's just growing and growing, and like I'm like a clean cut type of guy on the normal, and I'm like, well, this is the apocalypse version of me. But then it's like I start getting insecure, like, oh shit, man, I should go get cut up. But then it's like, and my barber's my homeboy. My barber actually looks like Brian Hoyer. I swear to God, it's funny because like we always, you know what I'm saying. But anyways, I'm like, I can call my barber to slide through, and then because he's willing to cut, you know, he's been cutting up other people all masked up and gloved up, and I'm like, man, I can't risk my family because at the same time,
crazy.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
I know.
Like,
I got a
for a
barbershop right next to
haircut.
I got a barbershop right next to my office, and they've been closed down since the whole thing hit. And my hair is like, honestly, like 5 inches long already on the top. I gotta.
That's what I'm saying. I'm about
I've
to
been wearing
order
a cap
clippers.
every day.
I'm about to order clippers and just watch YouTube tutorials.
Don't do it.
For
I've
real.
seen people lose a lot. I've seen people lose a lot and shake the whole head for no reason. They mess up.
Yeah. Well, Peacock, tell them where they can find you, and we are finally closing this thing out.
All right, awesome. Appreciate everybody for hanging with us and listening. You can follow me at FF_Peacock on Twitter. And then, like I said, you know, hit up the rumboys.com. That's Rumboys with a Z, RUMBOYZ.com. We have articles on the Captain's Corner. Of course, you can find myself and Bogard on the Rumboys After Dark Friday evening, having some drinks and talking some football with the rest of the crew. And then I also write for the timeskewed.com website, and I've appeared on a couple of their podcasts. And they have some great content. They wrap stuff up daily. They send it out daily, and they have a writer for just about every team. So make sure to check them out. They're like I like to call them like a brother.
A brother company to the Rumboys?
A brother company, a brother website, because they've had Robbie on to do some stuff as well.
Nice.
During the Super Bowl weekend and things like that. So. Yeah, Time Skewed.
Yeah, Time Skewed.
TIME,
yes.
And then SKEWED, timeskewed.com. So Q runs the show over there, and he hosts the podcast, and they've been doing some rookie draft pick interviews with some teams, and they have a really good active squad out there. So I enjoy writing for them as well, just not as actively as I do with the Rumboys, because I like to drink and party and hang out and do live video shows with the Rumboys. But Time Q is a very good place for you guys to find the rest of my Texans content, some of my XFL content. So if you want to check me out, go ahead and check me out there, as well as Rumboys, and obviously on the GMM network when I'm invited to come talk with Bogard. And and I forgot to mention, I also have my second season of my podcast coming back.
That's right.
The Flex on Them Fantasy Football Podcast. It's in its second year. I didn't finish off last year because we got into playoffs, and then we started getting drunk every weekend watching stuff. And
Hey, it happens.
So it does. But we had 16 episodes in the last season, going from pre-draft stuff and predictions all the way up until just about week 11 of fantasy football. And
that's
then we
awesome.
This season.
I'm looking forward to that.
This season. Yeah, I have some cool intros and background music and little stupid sound buzzers and things that go off every now and then.
That's right, because you did mention that you have a background in videography and shit like that, right? Like in the editing.
I do, and I do most of the stuff off of. I don't even have a desktop. I do most of the stuff either off of like a tablet or my phone on the fly. I do all my Photoshop for my articles, for the photos that go there on there. So I don't, I give the credit to myself. That way I don't have to tag anything in there. It's just a little easier for me. So
all they gotta. So you mean to say all they gotta do is let the peacock fly? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. If I didn't have a day job where I actually had to earn money doing what I really do, I'd have so much time to do all these other creative things. But yeah, give me a follow where you can, wherever you prefer, and the podcast is on all platforms. So you can find it on Anchor, Spotify,
Stitcher,
Google Play,
Apple, Google Play, etc. Man,
etc.
Man, Playmakers, you guys are going to find all the links to everything that he's talking about as well in the description of this video. Man, the Peacock, it was one hell of a pleasure, bro. Like, I know we've been cooking this up for a cool minute, but I actually saved it for after the draft where I was like, man, because, I know you got that insight, you know what I mean? And this is just one of those ones I was looking forward to. And I know this isn't the first time we'll be doing some work. You are one of my, man, I love all our colleagues in the Rum Boys. I was going to say you're one of my favorites, but, man, I love everybody. You know what I mean? Everybody has their own, and I will say this, though. I love when you describe me. You're always like, you said I bring my own special brand of antics. And I actually appreciate that a lot because it's like, I mean, I guess I'm like a junior Peacock in that sense, where it's like, I'm not like purposely trying to stand out. It's just kind of who my personality is, and like I love it because I feel like I'm at home with you guys, and
definitely, man.
Yeah,
no, you gotta let that shine through, Bogard. You're a very special person, and you come through across on the platform, whether it's visual or audio. I'm sure that your listeners will appreciate that, and you're extremely fun and energetic. So I always have a great time when I get to sit down and chat with you or just catch up with you and see how you're doing. And I think you and I are pretty similar in certain regards. So,
oh yeah, man,
I appreciate that. And I'm glad that you and I have had this opportunity to not only work together in the fantasy football realm, but to be friends and acquaintances.
Yeah, man, like
that as well. So
I'm telling you,
appreciate that.
And I did reference that earlier, man. Like it's such a blessing in the apocalypse to be able to, because, like, think about this. We are in our mid-30s. When do you actually meet friends at this time in your life, right? Because, the friends, because at this age, I'm pretty sure you'll agree, we done filtered out all the ones that, didn't stand the test of time, and the ones that remain around us, they're not just friends, they're like family. And